A hand clenches tightly around a heavy chain, the metal biting into the skin of a restrained neck. Above, a regal figure with flowing blonde hair and a golden crown looks skyward, bathed in an ominous purple glow. Master Belphegor's gaze drops, his expression shifting as the purple energy around him intensifies. A flicker of surprise crosses his face as he muses. There is something wrong with Belphegor, then questions, is that so? Elsewhere, Kim Soo-hyun's eyes narrow, a faint purple aura emanating from him as he considers the situation. I didn't think he would actually come, he states. He didn't come alone, did he? His resolve hardens. Yes, he confirms. They've spotted over 1,000 men. Hyung is coming. A determined glint enters his gaze. My Hyung and my men are here to save me, he thinks, acknowledging the sheer force brought for him. Hyung seems like he brought Hamel clan just to save one guy. His thoughts turn grim. Kill them all, but stay away from my Hyung. He acknowledges the challenge. We might have the advantage in numbers, he admits, but each one of them are former royal elites. A single word echoes his understanding. Understood. A pained grunt escapes, a struggle evident as a hand strains against unseen bonds. Then, a voice cuts through the tension, addressing him directly. Hey, Kim Soo-hyun. About time. Why didn't you come? The golden-haired figure continues, a smirk playing on his lips. Your feelings are muddled, and you've come to save me. Don't you think you should at least greet them with a smile? His words echo the harsh reality Kim Soo-hyun knows all too well. The countless lives lost to the royal elites, the sacrifices made to demons, all part of the brutal law of the jungle, a truth that forces another pained sound from him. I can see the hatred in your eyes, the golden-haired demon observes. However, you were the one who said that the weak should be sacrificed. He then declares, you can't continue. But Kim Soo-hyun's gaze hardens, his thoughts drifting to a stern face, to his Hyung, and then to the faces of all his friends, and the others he swore to protect. His hand clenches into a fist, his resolve solidifying as he remembers So Young Nuna, a silent question forming in his mind. Suddenly, a powerful, glowing red aura erupts nearby, causing Belphegor to react with a surprised, questioning sound, a deep hum of power filling the air. The crimson energy pulses, and Belphegor's surprise turns to disbelief as he questions the impossible, wondering if they could already be here, convinced it couldn't be right, as the Hamel clan was supposed to be elsewhere. Belphegor's voice echoes, calling out to Kim Soo-hyun, then continues, asking if it isn't about time he woke up. Struggling against the mental intrusion, Kim Soo-hyun questions the overwhelming loudness of the voice, while the demon lord confirms his fears, revealing he is laid bare to his telepathy. With his eyes flaring with purple light, Kim Soo-hyun issues a stark warning, his voice hardening as he demands the demon lord remove his filthy hands immediately. Suddenly, the surrounding space darkens, a void consuming all light. From the encroaching darkness, a mass of indistinct figures, wreathed in a furious crimson aura, begins to materialize. The raw, overwhelming power of the crimson energy expands rapidly, tearing through the very fabric of reality. It surges, a destructive force consuming everything in its path. A new voice, seemingly internal, questions Kim Soo-hyun's presence, then resolves with a determined declaration, no matter the cost, yeah. Then, amidst the chaos, a radiant, angelic figure with vast wings and a brilliant halo descends, bathed in pure, ethereal light. If one were to ever acquire the Zero Code, an omnipotent power capable of accomplishing anything, then any wish, no matter how impossible, would undoubtedly come true. A low chuckle echoes through the grand hall as Belphegor stands beside the throne, while Kim Soo-hyun, seated, contemplates the very nature of the power he wields, questioning if it is truly omnipotent or merely unlimited. His thoughts drift to a soft-faced woman with light pink hair, her eyes filled with a quiet sorrow, as he laments that even such immense power cannot grant his one true wish. A glowing blue orb rests in his hand, a tangible symbol of the power he holds, yet his inner plea remains the same. He desperately wants to give it back. His face is etched with despair as he clutches the orb, the weight of his inability to change the past pressing down on him, wondering if this power is truly omnipotent. A fleeting vision of a radiant, winged figure appears, a soft tsk, escaping his lips, as if in frustration. He remembers a hand reaching out, a desperate grasp, and the word seraph echoes in his mind. Now clad in a flowing red cloak, Soo-hyun stands resolute, the blue orb glowing brightly in his hand, surrounded by a golden aura as he prepares to act. His eyes glow with fierce determination as he resolves to use the cheat code and turn back time to the past. An ethereal, angelic woman with flowing blonde hair and glowing eyes gazes forward, her large white wings spread wide, as if recalling a distant memory. She looks down at a figure below her, asking, "To when I first came here, player Kim Soo-hyun, what did you mean by that?" Her expression shifts to surprise as she repeats, "I, Kim Soo-hyun, as the only survivor of the Zero Code, player Kim Soo-hyun." The vision dissolves into a swirling vortex of cosmic energy, before fading to a wide, misty forest landscape, the air thick with an unknown presence. Through the dense fog, a group of figures slowly makes their way, their footsteps rustling softly on the forest floor. Among them, Kim Soo-hyun clenches his fists, his frustration boiling over. Ah shit. This is too frustrating. I can't hold still. A man beside him turns sharply, his brow furrowed with concern. Know anything about this shitty situation? Where are we? Kim Soo-hyun, still disoriented, confronts a red-haired woman. And who are you people anyway? Huh. He demands answers from the figure on the ground, his frustration boiling over. Meanwhile, the dense, misty forest offers no clues, only an oppressive silence broken by the distant sounds of the unknown. He finds himself surrounded by strangers, their faces obscured by the gloom, as the unsettling environment presses in. A young woman with vibrant red hair, clearly annoyed by the commotion, lets out a frustrated sigh. She sits casually, challenging him directly, asking why he's throwing such a tantrum. He retorts, questioning her definition of a tantrum, pointing out their shared predicament and her own complaints. An older man with a stern expression steps forward, chastising the red-haired woman for her disrespect towards someone older, questioning her manners and upbringing. Unfazed, she fires back, asking if his parents taught him to yell at younger people, demanding he act like an adult if he wants to be treated like one. Enraged by her defiance, the man lunges forward, his patience completely exhausted. The dark-haired man, still agitated, questions what is wrong, while the red-haired woman demands to know what he is doing. She dismisses his concern, stating she is merely worried, but he retorts, finding her public display more concerning than her actual worry, and tells her to ignore him, as he isn't speaking to her anyway. Meanwhile, Kim Soo-hyun reflects on his own situation, acknowledging he doesn't understand what is happening, but isn't foolish enough to simply wait, having prepared himself for survival in this strange, misty forest where he awoke. The dark-haired man then turns to Kim Soo-hyun, his expression serious, asking if he hears the strange noises around them. As the group begins to move deeper into the forest, the dark-haired man confirms his concern, explaining that strange noises have been coming from all directions. He then addresses the red-haired woman, his tone resigned, telling her to do as she pleases. As he leads the way, he offers a conditional invitation, suggesting she follow if she wishes, and to bring any weapon she might possess. The blue-haired woman quickly agrees to join them, acknowledging the wisdom in sticking together in such a place, a sentiment the dark-haired man echoes. Seeing the others move, the red-haired woman, after a moment of hesitation, urges Kim Soo-hyun to follow, insisting they need to go as well. As the group stands at the forest's edge, the dark-haired man breaks the silence, asking about their next move, while the blue-haired woman suggests they simply proceed. The red-haired woman, however, voices her apprehension, wondering if they could just leave, but Kim Soo-hyun, having made his decision, resolves to follow the others who are already moving deeper into the mist, the dark-haired man calling back to the two lagging behind. He insists they stick together, though the red-haired woman grumbles about their attitude, still hesitant to fully commit to the perilous journey. The dark-haired man glances back, his gaze falling on the red-haired woman, who avoids his eyes, looking down in quiet defiance. As the leading pair continues to advance, the red-haired woman turns to Kim Soo-hyun, pleading with him to at least follow, if not for her, then for himself. But he begins to walk away, leaving her behind, prompting her desperate cries of no, and wait, as she reaches out, a choked apology escaping her lips. From further ahead, the dark-haired man's voice cuts through the air, telling her to get her ass over here if she's truly sorry, while she remains rooted to the spot, overwhelmed by her emotions. Her face contorts with a mix of fear and despair, her eyes welling up as she struggles with her decision. With Kim Soo-hyun continuing to walk away, she finally breaks, reaching out to him with a desperate plea not to be left behind. Her voice trembling with fear, she confesses her terror, a shadowy, hulking form already visible in the mist behind her, while Kim Soo-hyun, turning to face her, questions if she intends to stay behind. As her gaze falls upon the creature, its eyes ignite with a malevolent red glow, confirming her worst fears. The monster fully emerges from the swirling fog, a skeletal, demonic entity letting out a guttural roar as she screams a desperate plea. Without hesitation, the creature lunges, closing the distance in an instant. Its powerful blow connects, sending her flying backward with brutal force. The relentless assault continues, each impact a testament to the monster's overwhelming power. She is utterly helpless, caught in a whirlwind of pain and terror. Dragged further into the creature's grasp, her fate hangs precariously in the balance. Witnessing the brutal attack, Kim Soo-hyun's expression hardens with shock and grim determination. He stands amidst his companions, a tense silence hanging heavy in the air as one of them admits to being scared, questioning if they should truly remain in this unsettling place. But his gaze is distant, his mind already made up, as a system message confirms his request to rewind time in the hall plane. Kneeling before a towering, radiant angelic figure, he reaffirms his resolve. With a determined yeah, he declares he won't regret it, vowing to act just as he did before, as the glowing orb in his hand activates, transporting him back to the hall plane, 10 years in the past. Now clad in a red cloak and armed with a sword, he stands alone in a desolate, rocky landscape, ready to face the past. A celestial being, Seraph, looks down upon a lone figure, her voice echoing with divine authority as she states that none of the angels, including herself, can comprehend his decision. Despite the best logic, he cannot find a reason for his actions, and everything he has done is for naught. Yet he refuses to yield to the earth, choosing instead to follow his own desire, or perhaps recognizing something he has seen from the past. Kim Soo-hyun acknowledges the immense power of the Zero Code, admitting it's illogical to try and go back in time. But he firmly states that he doesn't need her understanding. He declares himself finished with recognizing her appearance and everything from the past 10 years, telling Seraph not to bother. Seraph, however, remains resolute, asserting that no matter how hard he tries, she will not recognize his will with the Zero Code, this being the final confirmation. As Kim Soo-hyun holds a glowing orb, a voice questions him, asking if he truly regrets his decision as player Kim Soo-hyun, and if he truly wishes to repeat the past 10 years of hell. In a moment of deep introspection, he asks himself if he truly wants to repeat it, remembering his brother who waited for him, and his comrades who died in vain. And so, the weight of his decision settled upon him, a heavy cloak of responsibility shrouding his form. He knew he had to do it, despite the unnecessary sacrifice and the painful knowledge of why, offering a silent, bitter thanks to the angels who had watched over him. The divine being, Seraph, could only stare in disbelief, the sheer audacity of his plans spanning years of time. She questioned if he was mocking the sacrifices of his fallen comrades, Player Hwan and Player Yun, before offering him a final proposal to reconsider. But he had heard enough, refusing to listen to any more of her pleas. Seraph found his resolve unbelievable, insisting he must listen before he came to regret his choice. She pressed further, questioning if he truly believed the words of a demon, especially him, who had lost so many allies to their kind. Yet, he remained steadfast, internally dismissing her as a mere assistant angel, declaring he had no luxury for pointless arguments and wished she truly understood his feelings. With a surge of power, he activated his ability, his will bending time itself to return him to the moment he first arrived, 10 years ago. He stands before the radiant Seraph, who reaches out to him, a silent plea hanging in the air. Her golden eyes close, a look of disbelief crossing her ethereal features as she murmurs, "Unbelievable." Behind him, the red cloak billows as his hand glows with an intense light, confirming the Zero Code has indeed responded to his will. The angelic being gazes down, acknowledging the power. Even if it's a demon's power, it's still perfectly suited for your will. I can turn back time. However, she continues, her voice firm. As I mentioned earlier, this serves a significant purpose, isn't it? Expanding it further is illogical. Kim Soo-hyun remains unyielding, his gaze sharp as Seraph insists. You are the only one who can stand at the top of the realm. With my authority as an assistant, I can help you find a better method for restarting. But he retorts, precisely, what I care about is that only I can go back. I don't care what you say. I'll do what I want. If it looks like you're going to get in the way, I'll. Seraph extends her glowing hands, blue particles swirling around them, attempting to appeal to his emotions. All angels are inclined to self-understand and empathize with your feelings. And we all sympathize with you. Consider it not as help, but as goodwill. He looks up, a hint of scorn in his eyes. Sympathize? His expression hardens, a challenge in his voice. What if I refuse? As the Zero Code responded to his will, Seraph's ethereal form shimmered, her voice echoing with guidance, confirming his desire to return to the moment he first met his companions. She explained that this was possible because the Zero Code had acknowledged and aligned with his intent. A soft sound escaped him as Kim Soo-hyun's expression hardened with resolve, ready for the change. Then, a blinding, multicolored light erupted, washing over everything with an overwhelming force, a soft sound accompanying the surge of power. The light intensified, coalescing into a singular, powerful burst, culminating in a deafening clang as the world around him fractured and reformed, leaving him disoriented and utterly surprised by the sudden shift. The transition was complete, a silent void marking the passage of time. And as he looked down at his empty hand, a chilling realization dawned. His sword, his most trusted companion, had vanished. His gaze swept across the unfamiliar surroundings, confirming the unsettling truth. Not only his equipment, but also his companions, the callers, were gone. A wave of memories washed over him, and he murmured, wondering if he had truly returned to a time 10 years in the past. The Zero Code activates, its completion confirmed as a soft glow envelopes him, announcing the successful activation to player Kim Soo-hyun. Seraph's ethereal form appears, welcoming him to the past timeline and quickly explaining the Zero Code's effects. Equipment, skills, and companions will be reset, though his special abilities and class privileges will be maintained, allowing him to choose an extra latent ability slot and potentially unlock a unique skill, with body modification also available, but E-ranked equipment cannot be selected. A sudden realization dawns on him, a desperate what? Escaping his lips as Seraph begins to fade, her form becoming translucent, and he cries out her name, but it's already too late. Her fading voice reaches him, a gentle plea for him to be happy. He tries to articulate his thoughts, a desperate what? Forming on his lips, but the words catch in his throat. Seraph, now barely a wisp of light, apologizes, unable to hear his desperate pleas. His eyes close in anguish, a silent please, escaping him as she vanishes completely. Her final, gentle wish for his happiness lingers in the air. He materializes in a vast, ornate hall, a brilliant portal shimmering before him. His hands outstretched as he declares his return. A wave of realization washes over him, the surroundings precisely as they were a decade prior. And he finds himself standing on a familiar, glowing plane, acknowledging the shift. The golden light intensifies around him, and within its radiant glow, Seraph's ethereal form begins to coalesce, prompting him to recognize her as she was 10 years ago. A radiant, winged figure appears before Kim Soo-hyun, her golden aura illuminating the ethereal space around them. With a gentle gaze, she addresses him, reminding him of his past self from a decade ago. Having completed the trial of the past and acquired the memory restoration skill and a fragment of the past, Seraph explains that once he finishes creating the Hall plane in the Tower of Dimensions, he will be able to return to a location of his choice. But first, he must prove his worth to enter the Hall plane itself. This Hall plane is not a place that exists on Earth. A sudden thump echoes as he finds himself in a desolate, alternate world, far from the safe zones he is accustomed to. The forest they are currently in is nothing more than a site of passage to enter the Hall plane. Realizing the danger, one of his companions urges them to leave before it's too late, a sentiment quickly affirmed by the others. As the group stands at the edge of the ominous forest, a nervous voice breaks the silence, confessing a deep fear. Soo-hyun, turning to her, questions her hesitation, reminding her of her earlier unease about their current location. Meanwhile, another companion urges them to decide, wondering aloud about the two's delay, while the red-haired female reiterates her bad feeling about staying, her voice trailing off with an unspoken dread. Determined not to repeat the mistakes of his past, Soo-hyun resolves to push forward, deciding that this moment is sufficient for a brief respite. Despite his resolve, a wave of exhaustion washes over him, leaving him to question his own state with a weary sigh. Suddenly, a startled cry from the blue-haired female draws everyone's attention, as the dark-haired male points towards a clearing, revealing it to be grotesquely filled with monster corpses. A chill runs down Soo-hyun's spine as he stares at the gruesome scene, horrified and questioning the origin of such a massacre, a terrifying thought forming that they might have arrived too late. The grim reality of his situation dawns on Soo-hyun, as he recognizes this place from 10 years ago, a past he desperately wished to avoid repeating, yet here it was, unfolding again for some unknown reason. He realizes that a complex system is at play, tied to the Tower of Dimensions, and that he needs to find allies to help him survive this rite of passage against the two remaining zombie-like figures, a trial that demands they endure for 7 days. The glowing blue sphere of the Tower of Dimensions signifies a return to the right, meaning he must enter once again, and he needs to find the people who were left out of this place 10 years ago. Turning his gaze upwards, he addresses the ethereal presence before him. The radiant seraph, floating gracefully, offers her heartfelt gratitude for saving her life. As he observes his companions, their player status reveals they are all at level 1 with no skills, prompting him to warn them to be careful. Their stats are a blank slate, yet his resolve remains firm, insisting they must persevere no matter what challenges arise. He finds himself perplexed, thinking there's no way he wouldn't recognize someone who stands out so much, and as for the man with her, he struggles to recall knowing an Ah-kyun, and Sol, or Soon. Before the name, Ah-kyun finally registers with a jolt. Meanwhile, the divine brilliance of Seraph, the very soul of the divine clay, shines with an otherworldly glow. Back with the group, the dark-hair male, also showing level 1 stats, exclaims in frustration, demanding to know what their problem is. Soo-hyun explains that while they can enter the Tower of Dimensions, it's no longer a rite of passage, but merely one of the many dungeons in the realm. Then, with a heavy heart, he wonders if they will die here because he chose to save them when he could have simply left them behind. A companion expresses her fear, admitting she's scared, prompting Kim Soo-hyun to question her resolve. She retorts, reminding him that he himself had said the place was unsettling, and declares she'd rather die than stay, her player status revealing she is still level 1 with no skills. Kim Soo-hyun, his patience wearing thin, snaps back, demanding silence and asserting that he isn't finished speaking. He holds up a hand, attempting to de-escalate the tension, and calmly states that they will simply have to square one another at this point, urging them to hold on. As a monstrous figure looms in the distance, he insists they need to get away from the creatures, prioritizing their survival above all else. The dark-haired male companion questions his decision, asking if they are going or not, while Kim Soo-hyun wonders aloud what the two of them are doing. The blue-haired female companion, reflecting on the situation, agrees with Soo-hyun's earlier assessment, acknowledging that he was right about not staying. The dark-haired male companion laments their predicament, calling it a bad dream, yet his player status confirms the grim reality. He too is level 1 with no skills. The blue-haired companion suggests they cooperate and find a way to survive, as the group stands united, facing the monstrous threat before them. He calmly suggests they share their opinions rather than argue, stressing the importance of working together, which begins to shift the mood. But Park Dong-gul, still defiant, challenges him directly, demanding to know his next move. He questions Soo-hyun's intentions, wondering why he doesn't just stay quiet, before offering a quick apology for his earlier behavior. Soo-hyun explains that he has been trying to lead them since his return, having always been the leader in the game. Dong-gul scoffs, questioning why Su-hyun is still level 1 if he's so capable, pointing out that he's no different from the rest of them. He asserts their right to cooperate as equals, not as freeloaders. Dong-gul clarifies his position, warning them to be wary of those who cannot be trusted, especially those who would be the first to run when danger strikes. He then dismissively refers to the muscle-bound types and that girl, causing the red-haired woman to react with visible anger. The blue-haired woman, however, considers his words, acknowledging that he makes a valid point about cooperating only with those who can truly help. A decision is voiced, the red-haired woman declaring, "Let's do it that way," while the blue-haired woman looks on, a flicker of surprise or concern crossing her features. Observing the exchange, Kim Su-hyun considers the implications, his thoughts turning to the blue-haired woman and her role in the group's shifting dynamics. The dark-haired male extends an offer, suggesting that if she understands the situation, she can join his team. However, the blue-haired female turns away, stating firmly, she will not cooperate. Later, the newly formed group, including Su-hyun, the red-haired female, the blue-haired female, and the dark-haired male, walks away from a lone figure, one of them remarking that it feels much better now that that guy is gone. As they continue on, the blue-haired female explains to her companion, she didn't like the way he was leading the group. An hour earlier, the dark-haired male had confronted Su-hyun, demanding to know why he had been following their group and how he could be trusted if he refused cooperation. Observing the exchange, Seraph commented that Su-hyun had a good eye for people and that his decision was a sound one. Seraph, a being of pure and unique charisma, has existed since the very beginning. Meanwhile, the blue-haired woman expresses a slight concern, admitting she feels a bit uneasy about Park Dong-gul. Lee Ji-hai, the red-haired woman, introduces herself, revealing she is 22 years old. The blue-haired woman, a 21-year-old college student, then speaks up, noting that the three of them seem to have been brought here under similar circumstances. She ponders the implications of their shared predicament, her expression thoughtful. Su-hyun, 23 years old, reflects on his own recent past, having just returned from military service when he was brought to this place. He wonders if they should simply talk casually, given their similar ages. Park Dong-gul, however, interjects, asking what the matter is, and suggests that since Su-hyun is older, he should be addressed formally. Su-hyun, slightly annoyed, asks how long they have been walking, while Park Dong-gul estimates they have been moving for about 2 hours. Kim Su-hyun listens intently as Lee Ji-hai admits her fear, finding the current location unsettling. He questions her, wondering if she intends to stay despite her apprehension, reminding her that she had previously expressed discomfort with the area, while Lee Ji-hai, lost in thought, recalls the angel and the one who can read system messages. Nearby, Park Dong-gul reacts with incredulity and frustration, demanding to know why his assistant failed to inform him of such crucial information. As the group continues to move through the eerie landscape, Park Dong-gul calls out, urging everyone to look in his direction, while the blue-haired female questions what Kim Su-hyun and Lee Ji-hai are doing. He insists they shouldn't linger, believing they must find a building if they are to survive. Suddenly, Kim Su-hyun spots a monstrous figure in the distance, but a voice from behind warns him of another threat. He is told not to run yet. Before he can react, the skeletal monster lunges, striking him with its shield, sending a jarring impact through his body. He grunts in pain. Just as the monster prepares for another strike, a voice calls out, urging In-hyun to use a sword, and a blade appears in Kim Su-hyun's hand. With a grateful acknowledgement to Hyun's, Kim Su-hyun unleashes a powerful, sweeping attack with the newly acquired weapon, his blade cutting through the air with a fierce cry. Continuing his assault against the monstrous foe, In-hyun quickly takes charge, instructing the others to protect Soli while he covers the main threat, receiving a swift affirmation from Lee Ji-hai. Suddenly, a panicked cry escapes her lips, warning Su-hyun of an immediate danger to his left. Before he can fully react, a shadowy, red-eyed monster lunges from behind, its clawed hand reaching for him. A guttural sound of effort escapes him as he instinctively twists away, his enhanced perception allowing him to anticipate the attack even without seeing it. Surrounded by multiple grotesque figures, he holds his ground, waiting for the precise moment to strike, a faint blue line of intent tracing his next move. But the sheer number of enemies is overwhelming, and without a weapon, he finds himself trapped, unable to find an opening. From the periphery, In-hyun's voice cuts through the chaos, shouting a critical weakness. For the head, that's their weakness. Su-hyun acknowledges the vital information. The shadowy creatures continue their relentless advance, their unsettling, mask-like faces drawing closer. One of the monsters stares blankly forward, its featureless mask and glowing red eyes a chilling sight. He slams into the rocky wall with a deafening crash, the impact sending a jolt of pain through his body. Despite the sudden assault, he quickly pushes himself up, a low grunt escaping his lips as he surveys the area. From a short distance, In-hyun calls out, assuring him that he's fine and reminding him of the monster's weakness. Lee Ji-hai, watching the scene unfold, expresses her concern, noting the sheer number of shadowy figures now emerging. Indeed, a horde of the mask-faced creatures begins to advance, their glowing red eyes fixed on the group. In-hyun, however, remains calm, reiterating his instructions for the others to protect Soli. Kim Su-hyun, now fully recovered, focuses on the monsters, confirming their vulnerable heads. With a determined expression, Hyun declares he will lure the monsters away, drawing their attention from the others. A palpable fear hangs in the air as the group debates their next move. Lee Ji-hai, her expression tight with anxiety, admits to being scared, while Kim Soo-hyun, looking worried, questions if she intends to stay behind, reminding her that the place was already unsettling her. Park Dong-gul, growing impatient, urges them to decide, asking what the two are doing, while Hyun, resolute, points out that waiting offers no guarantee of a better outcome, and questions if they're prepared to get lost in the dark forest. Soo-hyun, however, senses something amiss, feeling that something is profoundly wrong with their situation. The blue-haired companion agrees, finding the situation strange and suggesting they turn back, hoping no monsters suddenly appear. And Hyun, unwavering, reiterates his stance, asking one last time if they are going to the oldest area. Dong-gul, however, argues that the type of monsters is unknown, potentially stronger than any they've faced, and cuts himself off mid-sentence. And Hyun, with a sigh of resignation, states that he will go alone, refusing to force anyone to follow, but then challenges them, suggesting they go if they are truly scared. He asserts that the structures need to be destroyed, and he intends to use them to lure out the monsters, despite the inherent risks. As he prepares to move forward alone, the red-haired woman reminds him of his own safety, urging him to protect himself. He turns to the protagonist, questioning their presence in such a dangerous place, but the young man insists on staying, affirming his desire to live and asking for trust. His plan is clear: lure out and eliminate enough monsters for the others to escape, but the red-haired woman silently vows not to let him undertake such a foolish sacrifice. With a final glance, he begins to walk away from the group, leaving them to watch his retreating figure as the protagonist acknowledges his unwavering determination. Each step echoes with his earlier words, a silent reminder that he believes they shouldn't be here, and that they must trust him. The protagonist's expression hardens, a quiet resolve settling over his features. From a hidden vantage point, he surveys the desolate landscape, revealing a horrifying sea of glowing red dead men stretching as far as the eye can see. A grim realization dawns upon him. A head-on assault would have been suicide, for the dead men are truly everywhere. Hidden amongst the foliage, the group observes the overwhelming force, and the protagonist knows it is time to begin their true mission. And Hyun, having separated from the group, calls out to the monstrous dead men, drawing their attention with a defiant challenge. He continues to taunt them, ensuring their focus remains solely on him, as the creatures recoil in surprise, momentarily stunned by his audacity. A grim determination settles over in Hyun's face, his eyes sharp and focused on the task at hand. The familiar sensation of battle, of facing overwhelming odds, brings back memories of old days, a time when survival was a constant struggle. Meanwhile, Kim Soo-hyun urges his companions to move, fearing they will lose sight of Hyun, while the blue-haired woman questions the timing of their advance. The red-haired woman, however, cuts off any hesitation, demanding they act immediately. Kim Soo-hyun affirms his trust in Hyun's plan, and the red-haired woman, echoing his sentiment, insists they cannot afford to fall behind. They realize that retreating into the forest would render Hyun's dangerous efforts meaningless, leaving them with only one viable path forward. The red-haired woman's gaze sharpens, understanding that this perilous situation is not just a challenge, but a crucial opportunity, with Soo-hyun's life hanging in the balance. With their decision made, the group prepares to scale the rocky wall, following Hyun's earlier instructions, urging each other to move quickly and await his return. Kim Soo-hyun steps onto the desolate ground, the soft crunch of debris beneath his foot echoing in the quiet. A faint, almost musical hum accompanies his confident smirk. Before him stretches a vast, unsettling landscape, teeming with countless figures, prompting him to muse, My, that's a lot of you." He surveys the horde of dead men surrounding him, a question hanging in the air. Is this every single one in this area? With a determined glint in his eyes and a faint glow emanating from his hand, he declares, "Perfect for raising some stats. Let's get started." He moves with brutal efficiency, crushing a dead man's head with a sickening crunch. One of the grotesque creatures recoils, its vacant eyes wide with confusion, seemingly questioning, "What?" A system window materializes before him, displaying his updated player status, which he calmly reviews. Another dead man struggles, its teeth unable to penetrate his defenses, muttering in disbelief, "I'm surprised because I can't bite through?" He continues his relentless assault, a blur of motion as he strikes down another dead man with decisive force. Yet, even amidst the chaos, his mind remains sharp, considering that others might still be watching. He resolves to conceal his true strength, understanding that it doesn't matter if they comprehend his motives, as he intends to delve even deeper. A desolate, rocky landscape stretches out under a muted sky, the ground scarred with dark, reddish-brown patches. As Kim Soo-hyun surveys the area, a sense of unease washes over him, noticing the distinct lack of any other presence. A quiet thought forms in his mind, wondering if they had abandoned him here. Following faint signs, he discerns traces indicating their path, confirming they moved in a specific direction. Consulting his system interface, he notes the fading traces, making it difficult to pinpoint exactly what transpired, yet he resolves to press onward. With a sudden burst of energy, Kim Soo-hyun sprints forward, his eyes glowing with an intense red light as he pushes himself faster. A memory flashes through his mind, a younger version of himself expressing fear, while a companion questions if they should stay in a place that gives them a bad feeling. The past and present collide, and Kim Soo-hyun's face contorts in a grimace of frustration, his glowing red eyes burning with raw power. He reflects on his current magic power and vitality, acknowledging that even with such strength, there are limits to what he can do to change the past, a frustrated tisich escaping his lips. The fading traces of his companions confirm his fears. The figure he was tracking hadn't been able to go far. His mind drifts to a memory of the hill plain, a place where humans, to escape danger quickly, created safe zones and settlements, with structures and environments resembling the hill plain itself. In the flashback, Lee Ji-hai clutches herself, her voice trembling. "I'm scared," she admits, as an unseen companion questions her. "Then are you just going to stay here? You said earlier that this place was spooking you out." From another room, a voice calls out, "You can't Yuni." Outside, the blue-haired female impatiently asks Park Dong-gul and Lee Ji-hai, "Hey, are we going or not?" As Park Dong-gul wonders, "What are those two doing there?" Lee Ji-hai adds, "Soo-hai and Appa said he'd wait for us there. It's already been a while, and it's raining again. He might be lost looking for us." Inside a kitchen, Lee Ji-hai declares, "Stay if you don't want to come. I'll go alone if I have to." Park Dong-gul tries to calm her. "Hey, Lee Yu-young, calm down," while the blue-haired female frets. "What if the ghostie appears again?" Later, in bed, Lee Ji-hai recalls the harrowing escape. "We barely managed to get out alive. If it wasn't for us, we'd all be dead right now." She remembers her own premonition. "You said we shouldn't stay here, and that you had a bad feeling." She cries out, her voice laced with desperation. "You think I don't know that? That's why I'm telling you to get away from here. There are monsters. So now we have to go into the open, huh?" Park Dong-gul confronts her, his own fear turning to anger. "How could you be so shameless?" A soft thud echoes, and he declares, "To go." The blue-haired woman, however, remains resolute. "Okay then, go ahead and look for him, but I won't care whether you die or live, even so." She stands firm, asserting, "I'm not going to the open. It's too dangerous." The blue-haired woman presses on, finding it hard to believe her companion's sudden change of heart. "You said earlier that this place was spooking you out. Hey, ain't that right?" Lee Ji-hai cuts her off. "That's enough, Ji-hai." Dong-gul tries to mediate, acknowledging both their points. "But do you really have to say such awful things to each other at a time like this?" He makes a decision. "It's raining and dangerous outside, so I'll go look for Hyung." His fear then turns to a desperate plea. "No, Yuni is the one who wants to get herself killed. I won't get involved. Hyun Appa, you'll die if you go too." He then snaps, "Hey you, just shut your mouth." The blue-haired woman looks on, confused. "What are you talking about? You said earlier that this place was spooking you out, and that you had a bad feeling." Kim Soo-hyun, visibly distraught, retorts, "Even if Soo-hyun Hyung was here, he would have gone to look for us. After all, we weren't there. Use your head and think rationally." A soft, almost mocking laugh echoes as Lee Ji-hai and the blue-haired female peer around a corner, observing the unfolding situation. Ji-hai's voice cuts through the air, sharp and accusatory, declaring it a nice excuse, and questioning if someone is finally showing their true nature. She reminds them that this is supposed to be a safe zone, then aggressively demands to know what makes them think otherwise. Her frustration mounts as she rationalizes her desire to leave, arguing that it makes sense to want to escape when everyone is destined to die anyway, before adding a stern warning not to lie. A metallic clang echoes, drawing the attention of Park Dong-gul, who approaches the commotion, wondering about the source of the ruckus. He joins the two women, remarking that he seems to have arrived at the right place, having been drawn by all the noise. Kim Soo-hyun, clutching his head in exasperation, finally appears, realizing this is the reason for their presence and the escalating argument. He confronts the group directly, insisting they must leave. He clarifies that he isn't seeking a hiding place, but rather a means of survival, emphasizing that their current location offers no safety. The blue-haired female looks down, her voice quiet and filled with a desperate hope, muttering about believing they were safe here, hoping for a normal life, and noting that it has only been a few days since everyone seemed fine. Soo-hyun turns away, gazing out a window, a single, heavy but hanging in the air, hinting at the grim reality he perceives beyond their current shelter. A tremor of fear runs through him, his expression etched with genuine terror, as Lee Ji-hai turns to him, a question hanging in the air. She presses him, asking if he truly intends to remain here, reminding him of his earlier premonition that this very place felt unsettling. From a short distance, Park Dong-gul and the blue-haired female watch the tense exchange, wondering what the two are discussing, while Ji-hai continues to challenge him, recalling his own words about the necessity of leaving and his bad feeling about their current refuge. Kim Soo-hyun sits up in bed, his gaze fixed on the unconscious woman beside him, recalling how they all managed to escape thanks to her, and how they had waited for him as planned. Yet, a new problem had emerged. As he muses, they appeared. He looks down at the sleeping woman, a memory surfacing of the moment she was with Sol, when a scream tore through the air and a blinding white light radiated from her body, exposing the spectral figures around them. These were not mere ghosts, but wraiths, monsters unaffected by physical attacks, vulnerable only to magic, yet appearing in a rift where magic was useless. He had been freed thanks to Soul, but the implications of these creatures were unsettling. Observing her closely, he notes that her breathing is normal, her body temperature stable. She is merely unconscious, though he suspects she won't awaken anytime soon. A wave of concern washes over him as he touches his face, wondering, Hyung, is she going to be all right? She'll wake up, right? These symptoms are deeply troubling. The phenomenon known as magic overdrive, where a body is overwhelmed by an excess of magic, is a common symptom of magical overload. He finds it unbelievable that she, not yet an official player, has already used magic, wondering if he misread her magic power stats, or if her luck is simply too high. This, he realizes, is the future priestess of brilliance. As long as she remains unconscious, he doesn't anticipate any immediate problems, reassuring himself that she's probably just experiencing a nightmare. Later, addressing his companions, he announces his departure, stating he still has many things to do, and suggests they all get some rest, adding that he's going to check on her. And Hyun, looking at the group, insists they all need sleep, or they'll remain on edge. Returning to the unconscious woman, Kim Soo-hyun observes her. He decides it's time to help her a bit. As his hand glows with a faint light over her forehead, he confirms his suspicion. Her magic power is still weak. He continues to channel his magic into the unconscious woman, a soft glow emanating from his hand as he considers that if he could just transfer some of his power and guide it correctly, she would recover on her own. His efforts are not without consequence, however, as he realizes she will simply become an ordinary human once his magic stabilizes her. A soft sigh escapes her lips, a sign of returning consciousness. Time passes, marked by the quiet snowfall outside the window, until the woman finally stirs and sits up, looking around with a confused expression. She admits to being scared, then questions him, asking if he intends to stay in this place that had spooked him out earlier. From outside the room, his companions echo her sentiment, wondering if they're going to leave or not, and what the two of them are doing, reminding him of his earlier bad feeling about the location. The woman offers a soft thank you to him, and he responds with a simple sure, suggesting they leave it at that for now and asking her to come closer as he has something to say. With everyone gathered, he declares their immediate departure, stating they must leave this city today, as fast as possible. As the group considers their next move, one of the companions reminds the others that they were all briefed by the angels before arriving in this world. Kim Soo-hyun admits he was preoccupied at the time, not paying close attention to the details, though another companion recalls the need to secure food and water. The blue-haired woman, lost in thought, ponders the true meaning of survival, wondering what exactly they were supposed to do. She then asks Kim Soo-hyun if the objective was to survive for 7 days, to which he confirms, exactly. He reiterates the core instruction. They must either move to the center or survive for 7 days. He recalls the angel's warning that they must not stay in one place for long, and that they must either move to the center or survive for 7 days. The red-haired woman then brings up the bad feeling Kim Soo-hyun had about their current location, asking if he still feels it. The angels had warned them to keep moving before they were brought to this world, a memory of the glowing priestess of brilliance flashing through her mind. She finds it suspicious that despite that warning, they were placed in such a situation, and wonders if it's all part of a larger, unsettling plan. Still reeling from the unsettling briefing, Soo-hyun admits to a growing fear, prompting the red-haired woman to question if he intends to stay despite his earlier unease about the location. She presses further, reminding him of the angel's contradictory warnings and expressing her deep suspicion about their true intentions. From a short distance away, the blue-haired woman calls out, asking if they are moving or not, while another companion wonders aloud what the two are doing. With a sudden resolve, Soo-hyun agrees with the red-haired woman, stating that they shouldn't stay, which visibly surprises her. He explains his change of heart, confessing that he had a terrible feeling about the place, a premonition that had been haunting him. The source of his dread, he reveals, was a nightmare he experienced just last night. A human, a monster, a dream too vivid to ignore. She remembers being scared, then realizing the monster was herself, and then Soo-hyun telling them to run away and stop it, a scene she feels she's seen before. Now, the group stands together in a modern room, a quiet tension hanging in the air. Having gone through similar situations with Soo-hyun every time, and knowing that while skills require rank, intuition can be gained through precognitive dreams, she insists it's not just a hunch. A deep fear gnaws at her, a constant companion through their arduous journey, yet she knows she cannot simply abandon the path they've chosen. After a grueling battle, they had returned to the city, finding a temporary respite for 3 days, a brief pause before marking their passage through the dense forest. With their weapons always at the ready, they had survived countless nights together, a testament to their shared struggle and the bond forged in fire. He had always been there, shielding her from the worst of it, a protective aura flaring around him as he took the brunt of every assault. And so, 3 days after leaving the city, they found themselves marking their passage deep within the forest. The dense canopies swallowed the light, casting long, ominous shadows, and a chilling silence settled over the trees. Suddenly, a piercing scream tore through the quiet, shattering the illusion of peace. For a moment, she could only curse the relentless creatures, her frustration boiling over at the constant threat of these damn monkeys. A shiver runs down her spine, a primal fear she can't shake, as she admits, "I'm scared." Her companion looks at her, a question in his eyes, then presses, "Then are you just going to stay here? You said earlier that this place was spooking you out." Before she can answer, their attention is drawn to a small group of figures in the distance. One of whom calls out, "Hey, are we going or not? What are those two doing there?" Kim Soo-hyun observes the newcomers, realizing they are a group of survivors, and notes, "The long-haired guy? He looks familiar." A player status window materializes, confirming his suspicion. Woo Young-min, a male archer, age 25, with an alignment of chaotic neutral and skills in intuition, agility, archery, vigor, and mana. Lee Ji-hai gasps, recognizing the name, Woo Young-min, the clan lord of the clan Janine, known as the Devil. Another voice from the group interjects, "Don't overreact," and Hyun Soo-hyun adds, "If the long-haired one is the clan lord, then is Woo Young-min." He continues, his gaze fixed on the archer. "That man with the bow is just sneaky." Lee Ji-hai reminds him, "You said we shouldn't stay here, and that you had a bad feeling." And Hyun, from the other group, tries to address the situation, calling out, "Ah, Hyuns." The tension between the two groups remained palpable, with one of the opposing figures scoffing at the other's anger, declaring he was not in a good mood either. Lee Ji-hai, her face contorted in fury, demanded answers, insisting they would only say farewell after their questions were satisfied, while Kim Soo-hyun watched on, a silent observer to her outburst. His expression hardening, Kim Soo-hyun produced a bloodied knife, the glint of its blade a stark warning. Suddenly, a sharp impact echoed, and Lee Yoon cried out, her face twisting in shock and fear. Before anyone could react, Kim Soo-hyun lunged forward, a shimmering shield of energy erupting around him as he launched a furious counterattack. His blow connected with brutal force, sending Woo Young-min recoiling with a pained cry, blood splattering from the impact. The force of the attack sent him tumbling backward, his screams echoing through the desolate landscape. Kim Soo-hyun checks his status, a familiar window appearing before him, confirming his current abilities. Suddenly, a commotion draws his attention, as a figure tumbles to the ground amidst a small group of people. This is Seon Woo-yoon, an archer whose gaze holds a chilling intensity. He is known as one of the most formidable users of the archer class in the Hall Plane, a reputation that precedes him. A flicker of surprise crosses Soo-hyun's face, his hand instinctively clenching as he processes the situation. Seon Woo-yoon's eyes glow with a fierce red light, a fiery aura erupting around him as he prepares for battle. Soo-hyun watches, a thoughtful expression on his face, considering the implications of such power. He turns to leave, a quiet resolve settling over him, knowing that if he were alone, he might have considered a different path, but not now. A pained gasp escapes him, his hand clutched as if to stem the flow of blood from a fresh wound, as he laments the injury. The dark-haired woman beside him simply clicks her tongue in mild annoyance. She then turns, her voice firm yet apologetic, acknowledging their aggression but questioning if the conflict could end. She asserts that they are not monsters, and thus have no reason to cease fighting, though she admits she would prefer to, if it meant the archer would lower his weapon. Turning to the figure with the bow, she calls out to Seon Woo-yoon, urging him to stop. He hesitates, questioning if she truly understands the gravity of the situation, and insists she lower her bow. With a sigh, the dark-haired woman apologizes once more, explaining that the others are not usually so volatile, but the past few days have been exceptionally difficult, leaving everyone on edge. She suggests they simply ask for help. His thoughts drift to a past accusation, wondering if he had abandoned them, while her own internal voice suggests he wasn't the one who abandoned, but rather was abandoned himself. A fleeting image of a falling figure crosses his mind, as he resolves to simply play things by ear. Suddenly, the dark-haired woman's expression shifts to shock, demanding to know if they have seen them, and urgently asking for their location. And Hyun, looking serious, interjects, pointing out that while sisters were mentioned, they've only encountered one woman, and they're unsure if she's the one they're searching for. The dark-haired woman presses for details, asking what happened, but then admits the girl was too badly injured to be identified. Her gaze then falls upon him, as she recalls the girl was wearing a yellow. Her eyes widen in realization, uttering, while he curses, realizing it must be Nuna. He then snaps, frustrated, asking if they are blind and cannot see for themselves. Seon Woo-yoon cuts off Kim Soo-hyun, his voice firm as he tells him that's enough, while the younger man looks on, clearly distressed. Meanwhile, and Hyun reflects on the unfolding events, admitting to himself that this is why he didn't want to act like this, musing that he'll have to warn the others later. The grim reality of their search is laid bare as the body of a woman in a yellow dress is discovered, her features too disfigured for identification, confirming that they had already covered her and she was beyond recognition. Seon Woo-yoon then offers a pragmatic solution, suggesting that if they need to find their own path, he can help them find a place to rest. And Hyun continues his internal monologue, picturing a small building and noting that there's food and a room where they could sleep, adding that they can also get their hands on some. The priestess of brilliance, her face etched with worry, pleads with him, her voice barely a whisper. Xian Wu-yun offers a subtle, almost unsettling smile, his gaze distant. And Hyun continues his contemplation, acknowledging that they definitely don't seem like the type to do something like that, before adding, "Forgive us. Let's meet again if fate allows us." Yes, if fate allows us. The blue-haired female companion, observing the situation, questions if the other person is the leader of this group, stating she has something to tell them. A tense silence hangs heavy in the air, broken only by the soft sounds of the environment, as Kim Soo-hyun stands over Xian Wu-yun, who lies defeated on the ground. Rising to his feet, Xian Wu-yun declares that it is not his concern if Soo-hyun chooses to remain here, before telling him to give up, offering to grant whatever he desires. Standing side by side, the two men acknowledge the grim reality that no one will escape their fate. As evening falls, the group finds refuge in a quiet rest house, where Xian Wu-yun, the dark-haired male, and the red-haired female rest inside, while Kim Soo-hyun stands watch outside, gazing up at the structure. Inside, and Hyun suggests it is time for a shift change, noticing the blue-haired female's troubled expression and asking about her worries. On the porch, the priestess remarks that Soo-hyun didn't even notice her presence, to which he replies that he did, but merely pretended not to, stating he was simply observing the probabilities. The blue-haired female, holding a warm drink, asks Hyun what the long-haired man told him, noting that he hasn't spoken a word since, and that the others are growing worried. Kim Soo-hyun, holding his own cup, dismisses her concern with a quiet, it was nothing important. Even as the group settled into the rest house, the blue-haired female approached Xian Wu-yun, her voice low and insistent, reminding him that despite his earlier reassurances, something still felt wrong. He paused, turning to her with a slight frown, acknowledging her concern but insisting he had everything under control, promising to handle whatever came next. Her expression remained unconvinced, her gaze unwavering as she pressed him further, declaring that she needed to know the truth now. He met her gaze, his own eyes holding a complex mix of emotions, and asked if her concern stemmed from his earlier conversation with Kim Soo-hyun, before quickly dismissing it as unimportant. But she wasn't deterred, her voice firm as she countered, insisting that his dismissive attitude was precisely why she felt uneasy, sensing he was hiding something from them. Xian Wu-yun remained silent, his gaze dropping slightly as a single thought echoed in his mind, acknowledging the girl's sharp intuition. A young woman with blue hair looks down, her voice soft but firm, assuring Soo-hyun that she isn't going to die, and that she intends to stay right where she is. Her words hang in the air as he looks away, a question echoing in his mind. What exactly is she to him? He realizes now why he'd caught her gaze so many times, her eyes always on him, as she recalls a moment from earlier, when In-hyun had ordered her to block an arrow meant for him, and he hadn't even flinched. Facing him directly, she continues, asking if he knows everyone has been talking about his actions today, and how they're still calling him a monster. From inside the quiet house, he simply acknowledges her words, admitting he hadn't known, but she insists this isn't something that can simply be ignored. As he gazes out a window, lost in thought, she reiterates her earlier statement, her resolve clear, she won't die, and she's staying by his side. She challenges his assertion that he doesn't make decisions alone, reminding him that he always acts by himself, even if they move as a group. He reflects on the contributions of others, acknowledging that Hyun and Yu-young had done much, even today. But she cuts him off, her voice firm, declaring that he might fool Hyun and Yu-young, but she would not be deceived into thinking she was holding him back. Looking down, he finally addresses her by name, asking Hanbile what she truly wants him to say. From behind him, as he stands on a balcony, she explains that they stuck with him even when they were fooled, but now he's just pushing them away. He struggles to understand why he distances himself, yet acknowledges the problem is that everyone relies on him. He challenges her with a simple question, and she responds by asking if he won't let her help him. Her resolve unwavering, she reiterates that they knew he made decisions alone from the beginning, yet they still chose to follow him, and if she were to leave him now, she would regret it for the rest of her life. He looks forward, a complex expression on his face, absorbing her words. Hanbile begins to speak, her voice carrying a note of concern as she addresses him. The vast, open landscape stretches before them. As the group continues their journey, with the dark-haired man and the blue-haired woman resting soundly, one of their companions voices a doubt, wondering if they are pushing too far, but another reassures them that they are almost there, only 2 days away from the warp gate. Hanbile then offers Soo-hyun some advice, urging him to stay away from the warp gate and simply survive for once, recalling how 2 days prior, when they were close to the gate, something unexpected happened. They couldn't reach their destination because, as they approached the warp gate, a monster suddenly appeared. Hanbile recounts how it initially seemed like an ordinary foe, but they quickly realized it was an immense, unimaginable being that defied all known conditions, a truly monstrous entity. In the distance, the golden, ornate structure of the warp gate gleams under the sky, a beacon of both hope and immense danger. Its intricate design and glowing blue core hint at the immense power contained within, a gateway to another realm. As the group draws closer, Kim Soo-hyun questions if the imposing structure before them is indeed the fabled warp gate, while Hanbile, captivated by its grandeur, declares it beautiful, urging him to hurry forward, hoping it will lead them home. The golden, intricate gateway stands majestically under the clear sky, a beacon of hope and mystery. Their footsteps echo softly as they traverse the uneven terrain. And Suhayan reviews his data, noting their proximity to the gate and the unsettling lack of any special readings, despite rumors of a boss monster. With the area appearing deceptively normal, he decides to activate his mana detection, a faint red glow emanating from his leg as he initiates the skill. A shimmering, orange-red grid of energy spreads across the ground from his position. But as he observes the results, a crackling sound accompanies his disappointment. There is nothing to be found. He wonders if the previous group was simply unlucky to encounter something, or if the information was false. His eyes glow with a fierce red intensity, reflecting the crackling mana around him, as he grapples with the unexpected emptiness of the area. The group stands before the warp gate, now a swirling vortex of purple energy, as ominous magic waves ripple outwards. And a booming sound accompanies the full manifestation of a massive, unstable portal. Panic begins to set in among the companions, with the red-haired woman crying out in fear, wondering what monstrous thing could be forming within the magic circle, while the priestess beside her echoes the terror. But Kim Suhayan's face hardens with grim resolve, his thoughts solely on protecting everyone. He turns to his companions, his voice cutting through the rising fear, ordering them to retreat and run for their lives if they wish to survive, a command that causes one of them to question his sudden, uncharacteristic stance. With eyes now glowing a fierce, determined red, he shouts his command again, leaving no room for argument. From the crackling purple energy, a grotesque, clawed hand reaches out, its talons sharp and menacing, followed by a heavy, thudding step as a monstrous foot plants itself firmly on the ground. The creature fully emerges, a towering, multi-eyed horror roaring its challenge into the air. Then, a sudden, blinding rush of motion. As the system registers new arrivals, 3 individuals are identified as users, and Hyun, and Sol, and Lee Yu-young. A message confirms their success, congratulating them on surviving the rite of passage. This new world, known as the Wall Plain, is vast, divided into 4 distinct regions: East, West, North, and South. Those who have proven themselves by surviving the rite of passage are granted access to this starting town, a place on the continent's northern edge, said to be protected by the angels. Indeed, a magnificent city stands, its structures nestled beneath a shimmering, protective dome, a testament to the angels' presence. A soft, ethereal glow emanates from a sturdy wooden door, its ancient hinges groaning softly. The door slowly swings inward, revealing the path beyond. Inside a rustic, wooden room, Kim Suhayan stands with his newly formed group, Lee Yu-young, the dark-haired man, and the blue-haired woman, all gathered and ready for their next step. He holds the trembling woman close, her voice a desperate plea as she clings to him, terrified of being left behind, but he reassures her with a firm promise. With a blinding flash of light, a massive portal opens, and the group races towards it, urging each other forward, desperate to escape the encroaching danger. But Hyun, looking back with a pained expression, calls out to his companions, a silent farewell in his eyes. He reaches out one last time as the women cry out in despair, his hand unable to grasp theirs as he falls behind. Later, in a rustic, dimly lit room, the 4 survivors gather around a wooden table, the words "we all survived" hanging heavy in the air, a stark contrast to their somber expressions. The red-haired woman laments the absence of Hyun, while the dark-haired man acknowledges his sacrifice, and the blue-haired woman adds a quiet, mournful thought. A close-up reveals the protagonist's own distress, as the grim reality of Hyun being sent back home settles upon them. The dark-haired man breaks the silence, his voice heavy with uncertainty, questioning their next move without their leader. The small group sits in quiet contemplation, the weight of their survival and loss palpable in the humble room. He stands in profile, his expression heavy with thought. The rustic room around them remains silent, a stark contrast to the chaos they had just escaped. "Wait," the red-haired woman whispers, her voice trembling. "That might be Suhayan." The blue-haired woman dismisses the idea. "Don't be ridiculous." Suhayan, however, can't shake the feeling, wondering if they truly were the only ones to survive the portal, or if others, like Hyun, might still be alive. A desperate plea echoes through the quiet space. "Please," the red-haired woman begs, her voice filled with a fragile hope. "Why is it so quiet? Are we truly the only ones left?" Then, a sudden realization dawns on him as he spots familiar faces. The dark-haired man sighs, clearly annoyed by their dramatic reaction, telling them to read the room and stop looking so surprised to see them alive. A wave of embarrassment washes over Kim Suhayan, who then turns to the red-haired female, asking if she's still feeling the same unease as before. She simply replies, "Okay," as the dark-haired male dismisses the thought, stating he doesn't think so and to forget it, which brings a sigh of relief from Kim Suhayan, while outside, the curtains and windows remain stubbornly unmoving. Meanwhile, Sean Woo-yoon voices his concern, wondering about a missing person, specifically the guy with the crossbow, and questions why only he seems to be absent when everyone else was supposedly sent to this location. The priestess of brilliance then ponders his fate, hoping he's still alive, but the grim reality sets in as she concludes he must be dead. And Sol, reflecting on his own survival, realizes he's the only one from his original group who isn't accounted for, explaining that he and the dark-haired male simply happened to be in the same place when everything occurred. The dark-haired male observes the situation, surmising that the others are likely waiting for someone, and suggests they simply wait and see what unfolds. Suddenly, a mysterious door in the room begins to glow with an ethereal blue light, drawing the attention of all the survivors, who now stand, captivated by the luminous portal. Their expressions are a mixture of anticipation and apprehension as they collectively stare at the enigmatic entrance. A low, drawn-out creak echoes as the mysterious blue door, which had captivated everyone's attention, slowly begins to open. As a cascade of system messages floods his perception, announcing his entry into the Hall of Trials and granting him numerous challenger skills, a single, incredulous thought escapes him. What? Kim Soo-hyun finds himself suspended in an ethereal space, ethereal white wings manifesting behind him, as the system congratulates him on acquiring the Eye of Pandora. Sweat beads on his forehead as another message appears, confirming that on the 6th day, at 16:42 and 47 seconds, he has earned the right to enter the Hall plane. His eyes narrow, a flicker of determination crossing his features, as he processes the profound implications of this new reality. A figure stands amidst a flurry of speed, his gaze fixed downwards, a question hanging in the air. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, he launches himself forward, leaving streaks of motion in his wake. His powerful stride creating a small crater with each step. He leaps, enveloped in a fierce, dark aura, accelerating towards his target. Finally, with a devastating swing, he unleashes a shockwave of force, the impact reverberating through the air. The monstrous creature recoils from the blow, its form contorting as a voice echoes, claiming dominion over the very plains. As the monster defiantly declared its identity, Kim Soo-hyun unleashed a special ability, his form wreathed in dark, crackling energy as he prepared to strike. This was One with the Sword, a rank X ability that allowed him to perfectly mimic any sword technique he had witnessed, increasing his mastery and the sword's rank. He also activated a latent ability, hand-to-hand combat at rank B+, which amplified his physical prowess, allowing him to close distances and deliver powerful strikes. With these abilities now active, he moved with blinding speed, a crimson blur of focused power, striking the monstrous entity with overwhelming force. Elsewhere, in a realm of ethereal light, a white-haired angelic figure addressed a younger Soo-hyun, explaining that the Hall plane was a place where balance settings were crucial and that other players had been sent there to sort out trouble. He listened intently, his expression thoughtful as he processed the complex information. The angelic figure pressed him, asking if the balance settings had been correctly configured, to which he confidently affirmed they had. She then elaborated, explaining that if the balance settings were off, the Hall plane would become a chaotic mess, and the monster would be born with an uncontrollable power. This ominous warning was accompanied by a vision of a monstrous entity, its form twisted and powerful, a creature born from the very imbalance of the Hall plane. She continues, explaining that he would need to sacrifice others to escape the impending threat. Affirming this grim truth, she elaborates on the Hall plane, a place where balance settings are crucial, warning that incorrect settings would unleash an uncontrollable monster, and that other players are also involved in its management. She reiterates the danger, emphasizing that a monster beyond control would emerge if the balance was disturbed, and that many others are involved in maintaining this delicate system. Then, her gaze sharpens as she addresses Kim Soo-hyun directly, inquiring if he is concerned about a mere 2,500 gold points. His mind races, processing the implication that he possesses a staggering 3,784,720 gold points, making any concern over a small amount seem illogical. A bewildered sound escapes him, as the sheer scale of his wealth begins to sink in. The angelic figure confirms his unspoken question, stating that he indeed has over 3 million gold points. She reiterates that he possesses a significant amount of GP, and that expending it all would be illogical. Kim Soo-hyun's thoughts swirl, wondering how he could still have so many points left, even after purchasing what he believed were all the overpowered privileges available. With a nod of approval, the angelic figure confirms his understanding, then instructs him to display the player-exclusive shop. She agrees, her hand glowing faintly, but insists on settling the reward for defeating the boss monster first. Kim Soo-hyun stands ready, awaiting the system's calculations. 2 system alerts materialize before him, one announcing an astounding achievement for clearing the trial of the boss monster, without help, granting him 50,000 gold, and another for clearing the Hall plane for the first time, rewarding him with 10,000 gold. He scoffs at the numbers, muttering about the seemingly low reward for clearing the entire Hall plane, before deciding to finally open the player-exclusive store. As the store interface appears, he scrolls through categories like weapons, armor, and skills, his eyes finally landing on the gold section, which displays an unbelievable 3 million. A wave of disbelief washes over him, his mind reeling at the impossible sum, a stark contrast to his past struggles with his companions. The angelic figure, observing his shock, reminds him that while his requests have no limit, he must not act recklessly this time, recalling his past actions in Wanyong. He then understands, realizing the gold points accumulated by chance from a hidden player-exclusive store that appeared when he reached a certain tier, a store whose existence was unknown, preventing him and others from spending their wealth. A system notification confirms the reception of something extraordinary, as the player-exclusive store finally reveals its entire catalog, along with the astonishing news that Kim Soo-hyun possesses 3 million gold points. The angelic figure cautions him that most items, other than potions, are single-use, urging him to choose wisely, a warning he acknowledges, his thoughts already turning to items that could boost his stats. Among the offerings, an arcane elixir catches his eye, promising a permanent increase to all stats, a truly valuable find. He continues to scroll through the catalog, contemplating his next move. Then, a wish item appears, capable of fulfilling any desire for 100,000 gold points, but usable only once. His eyes widen in genuine surprise at the sheer power and variety of the items now at his disposal. The catalog details various powerful items, from Unify Rank to Divinity Blessing, each with escalating gold point costs. With 3,610,000 gold points currently available, the angelic figure presents him with a critical choice: make a purchase now, or proceed, which would close his access to the hidden store forever. He confirms his decision to proceed. Still, he looks at the angelic figure, a lingering question in his mind. How does she possess such profound knowledge of the system's intricate workings? Still in the ethereal hidden store, the angelic figure explains that the power he gains from the items he purchases with his gold points will far exceed that of even the current top players on the hall plane. She cautions him, reminding him that existing players have strong, vested rights, and he should avoid making enemies by being careless. As the hidden store fades, he muses to himself that he knows what she means, acknowledging that the system has been set up to protect those who came before him. Back with his companions, and Hyun questions him, asking if he's just going to stay there, reminding him that he himself said the place was spooking him out earlier. The red-haired woman, visibly agitated, shouts at him, asking if they're going or not, and wonders aloud what the two of them are doing. Her frustration mounts, as she recalls his earlier warning that they shouldn't stay here, and that he had a bad feeling about the place. All eyes are on him, as the tension in the room becomes palpable. With a resolute expression, Kim Soo-hyun declares that everyone will be going. A young woman with vibrant red hair stares at Kim Soo-hyun, her expression a mix of disbelief and relief, asking if it's truly him. He simply confirms it, but her grip tightens on his arm, a worried frown creasing her brow as she questions if he's heading somewhere else, complaining that his touch hurts. Soo-hyun, looking back at her, admits he hadn't expected her to be alive, finding it impressive, to which she replies in kind, adding that it was as expected of Woo Young. Soon, the two are joined by their companions, a blue-haired woman, a muscular dark-haired man, and a priestess, all gathered together in what appears to be an outdoor setting. Suddenly, the red-haired woman cries out Soo-hyun's name with an honorific, followed by another voice calling him Hyung in alarm, as both react with wide-eyed shock to something unseen. The dark-haired man observes the scene, noting that the summoning appears to be over, as the group stands before a distant, ominous structure. With the immediate danger past, the group prepares to move, as the red-haired woman asks Soo-hyun how he survived, revealing that Bok Seon-ul had told her where he would be summoned, a fact that seems to surprise him. He reflects on the recent chaos, acknowledging that the monsters weren't the only threat that claimed lives, and that he truly believed his end was near. Instinctively knowing he had returned, he barely survived the ordeal, realizing that finding the critical point was key. As his companions look on, one of them asking what he did. The red-haired woman admits she was too shocked and scared to move, recalling how he changed the lands and the monsters, unable to believe her eyes or even defend herself, before pointing to something in the distance. The barrier around the doors and the critical point itself are gone, and he senses that it's time for their next move. A powerful impact reverberates, leaving the group stunned and questioning what just happened, as a mysterious figure appears, instructing them to look at this new development. Their confusion deepens at the sight of a new message, a system notification welcoming them to the 99th floor. The angelic figure addresses the bewildered group, acknowledging their surprise and the many questions they must have. With a gesture towards a sprawling city now visible in the distance, the figure invites them to follow, revealing that they are all new players. She welcomes them to the Players' Academy, a place where new players can learn and survive in the game again. This academy, a type of training agency, is located on the northern continent. It was founded by a player from the northern continent, and its utility was approved by the angels, gaining the authority to set quests with skill points as rewards. The training period at the Players' Academy is 3 months long. Players responsible for fielding new recruits, teaching them, and offering help are called instructors, and one such instructor, Park Hyun-woo, is introduced. She explains that players who complete the academy receive 4 skill points as a reward, and that she herself joined to get the skill point reward. The angelic figure adds that the academy also provides shelter, training, and help for new players, and that skill points are basically money, with 1 point being worth a lot. As Park Hyun-woo walks forward, she formally introduces herself, stating she represents the Northern Continent's Golden Lion clan. He is Park Hyun-woo, a name that will one day command the Golden Lion clan, and a shiver of fear runs through Soo-hyun as he watches him. Getting straight to the point, Hyunwoo reviews his own player status, noting his impressive stats as a normal sword expert from the Golden Lion clan. His strength, agility, and magic power are all remarkably high, a testament to his past as the Phantasm swordsman during the First Alliance War. He reminds them that they, too, were once citizens of the Northern Continent, just like the new recruits. Soo-hyun, surprised, questions if he intends to stay, recalling Hyunwoo's earlier discomfort with the place, but the instructor dismisses his concerns, pointing out Soo-hyun's own previous dislike for it. With a sudden, sharp motion, Hyunwoo clenches his fist. The next moment, Soo-hyun is on the ground, having been struck down with overwhelming force. Standing over the fallen recruit, Hyunwoo declares with cold finality that they are not the ones who will take him home. A figure lies broken on the ground, crying out in agony as another stands over them, a dismissive scoff escaping their lips. The aggressor's voice is firm, stating, "We are not the ones who can send you home." A heavy boot connects with the fallen figure. As the aggressor continues their harsh lesson, "We all went through this as well. We all." He explains the brutal truth of their situation. There is just one reason we existing users have gathered here, and that is to help everyone get accustomed to this world. The victim's bloodied face reflects the pain of the lesson, as the aggressor concludes, "However, this man." Suddenly, a new, imposing figure appears, cloaked in white and gold, their presence radiating immense power. A heavy thud echoes, followed by a rustling sound, as a gloved hand descends, perhaps signaling the start of a new, uncertain phase. The air hums with murmurs among the gathered players, who had intended to offer their aid, only to find themselves insulted and even sexually harassed. From the front of the assembly, an instructor addresses the group, his voice firm as he declares, "If you don't want our help, you are free to leave. The choice is yours." He extends a hand, a gesture of reassurance, promising that no harm will come to you. A low hum of anticipation ripples through the crowd gathered before the imposing castle walls. And the instructor continues, questioning if even one of them would choose to leave, before adding, "Then I take it that everyone here." Before he can finish, Park Hyunwoo steps forward, interrupting with a polite but pointed question. "Excuse me. What happens if we give up anyway? Dropping out means you lose your choice, so please don't worry. Any other questions?" A collective sigh of relief or resignation passes through the assembled group, as the instructor then directs them, "If not, then let us now head to the accommodation." However, Park Hyunwoo raises her hand once more, her expression serious as she poses a deeper inquiry. "I have a question. What is the real reason we are training here?" And Hyun dismisses the question as pointless, wondering if the participant has forgotten the true purpose of their presence here, believing they are trying to help them. However, Park Hyunwoo insists it is a good question, emphasizing the necessity of their training and the distinct methods employed. The academy itself raises many questions among the players, who wonder why they are being trained in this world, and why new methods are being tried when a system already exists. This imposing structure is known simply as the academy, and Hyun reiterates his belief that he has already explained the merits of joining the players' academy, asking if she has any further complaints or concerns. But Park Hyunwoo quickly cuts him off, stating that she is not referring to those explanations, having already understood the academy's merits. The true question lingers. Was this place established solely for the players, or was it, as mentioned, for a specific individual, not the angels? She presses further, asking why they are being trained in this world and why he feels the need to teach them, before offering a polite, yet firm, apology and thanks. And Hyun then brings up the fate of players who do not return, to which Park Hyunwoo confirms that such individuals exist, those who simply do not wish to return. Meanwhile, at the academy, Kim Soo-hyun and his companions, including in Seoul, Seon Woo-yun, the red-haired female, the blue-haired female, the dark-haired male, and the priestess of brilliance, arrive, where normal players are diligently searching for clues that will allow them to return to Earth. And Hyun explains that not all players wish to return home. Some have decided to settle in the Hall Plane permanently, often being social outcasts or criminals with nowhere left in their own world. Kim Soo-hyun questions if everyone can simply do as they please, but Hyun quickly clarifies that it is not that simple. He adds that those who live outside the academy are not just nobodies. Though not as prevalent as in the real world, there are still groups who exploit others, and some even kill for enjoyment, a revelation that visibly shocks Soo-hyun. And Hyun notes his expected reaction, explaining that for ordinary people, these individuals are no different from monsters. He continues, stating that after a few years, even the people here will become like them, killing monsters, and asks if Soo-hyun has heard such stories from his own world. A new player, glowing with untapped potential, stands ready to face this harsh reality. And Hyun emphasizes that these dangerous players arrived long before them and have trained for a considerable time, making them far more formidable. He then poses a rhetorical question, suggesting that a new player who knows nothing would be an easier target than an established one. And Hyun concludes by explaining that these players have formed communities to teach and protect new arrivals from such dangers. Many clans have gathered here to collect clues and oppose those who don't want to return to Earth, united by their singular objective. And Hyun continues his explanation, emphasizing that the ultimate goal for many is to return to Earth, where their loved ones await. Understanding the gravity of his words, Park Hyun-woo acknowledges the information, then asks if anyone has further questions, while a small group of male players listens intently. Yet, a cynical thought cuts through the air, the idea of unreasonable players who would burn mountains for their alliances, suggesting that even such extreme training is somehow justified in this harsh reality. In the Hall Plane, a clan represents a group of individuals united by similar interests, and those clans that share a common enemy are then designated an alliance. With the day's lessons concluded, and Hyun announces that training will commence tomorrow, advising everyone to rest well tonight, but not without a stark warning. Both clans and vagrants are essentially the same, ready to kill each other at any necessary moment. He then directs the male players to go one way, while instructing the female players to follow him, hinting at a more crucial matter. Meanwhile, Seol playfully embraces Seon Woo-yeon from behind, greeting him with an affectionate Hyung. And Hyun, observing the new recruits, expresses his doubt, wondering if these individuals will truly be able to handle the notorious Northern Knights Players Academy. The grand structure of the academy stands before them, a formidable challenge awaiting the new players. As the training for the new players officially begins, a bright light emanates from the ground, startling the young man lying there. A brown-haired woman looks down at him, surprised, while Hyun and Park Hyun-woo observe the scene from above, the former reflecting on how this reminds him of the old days, wondering how long this batch will last, and hoping for some useful recruits. His gaze remains fixed on the unfolding events, a thoughtful expression etched across his face. The Northern Continent's Academy, a rigorous institution, began its first week of training with 113 hopeful trainees. Among them, trainees like the red-haired woman and the dark-haired man engaged in sparring, honing their combat skills against each other, as the Academy's curriculum demanded they fight their fellow students. More than 10% of the 130 members couldn't endure the demanding regimen, and dropped out, leaving the protagonist to reflect on the harsh reality of their new environment. Fortunately, his own group quickly adapted to the Academy's intense training, finding their footing amidst the rigorous demands. The blue-haired woman, for instance, demonstrated her burgeoning magical abilities, a soft blue aura flaring around her hand as she practiced. Later, in a quiet moment, Seol explained to the protagonist that Seol was a priestess, and Yu Young, a mercenary. The protagonist acknowledged the information, then confessed that after they had entered the East Continent, he had been alive but then disappeared, leaving him to wonder about his whereabouts ever since, a feeling that had always unsettled him. A soft gasp escapes one young woman, her eyes wide with a mix of awe and fear, while another, equally stunned, admits to feeling the same way. Meanwhile, back with the main group, a stern warning is issued: never reveal your stats or other sensitive information, as people will inevitably try to take advantage. The group collectively affirms their understanding. Kim Soo-hyun looks directly at Seol, singling her out, and she responds with an innocent, eager affirmation. His gaze then shifts to Han-byeol, who is already walking away from the table, leaving without a word, a fact that doesn't escape his notice. Turning to the blue-haired woman, he wonders if he needs to explicitly state his thoughts, but she preempts him, reminding him that they shouldn't reveal too much about themselves to others. He notes her similarity to Han-byeol in her cautiousness, feeling as though she's making a fool of him, though she quickly clarifies that it's not about him stealing anything. Later, speaking with Seol, he acknowledges the difficulty of being a priestess, speculating that Seol might be with people from the church or even considering joining them. Seol confirms that Seol is indeed busy, explaining that she has a lot to learn for her magic classes. A thoughtful hum escapes Kim Soo-hyun as he considers the earlier exchange, concluding that the blue-haired woman simply doesn't trust him. Since then, Han-byeol had not spent any more time with the group, and their days at the Players' Academy quickly passed. Within the Academy's training grounds, students continued to hone their skills, a sharp pike echoing through the air. As one student launched a mid-air sword attack, another observed, noting that Kim Soo-hyun was once again engaged in intense training, diligently participating in every session. He seemed to get along well with the instructors too. With a swift whack, he deflected the incoming blade, his movements a blur of precision. His opponent, caught off guard by the sudden speed, exclaimed in disbelief, "Seriously? Damn, have you already reported this to Hyunwoo Hyungnam?" The sword moved with a resonant boong, a testament to the force behind the strike. With a grunt of effort, the opponent was sent reeling backward, a sharp pike marking the impact, unable to withstand the counter. Player Kim Soo-hyun stood victorious, his skill undeniable. With the final 13th week approaching, only about 80 people remained in the Players' Academy, a stark reminder of the challenges faced. As the water runs over his hands, a thought crosses his mind about his current standing. Meanwhile, Park Hyun-woo confronts him, asking what he truly thinks of her, warning him not to be arrogant and to instead focus on making allies, not enemies. Kim Soo-hyun, standing with Seon Woo-yeon before the Academy's imposing walls, simply states that he intends to handle things correctly. As they walk away, the thought lingers that any potential threats must be dealt with swiftly to minimize conflict. When Hyun-woo approaches, asking if she might have a word with him, she addresses him directly, inquiring how long he's been standing there, before revealing she just arrived and has something important to tell him. He responds with a simple, questioning "yeah," and asks what it is. Under a clear, blue sky, The academy's grand structure stands tall, a silent witness to their conversation. As they continue their walk, the revelation comes that new students are apparently not receiving offers, and the academy itself is becoming a more daunting place, especially with her uncle's involvement. More importantly, the academy had promised support if he joined as a candidate for clan commander, but now he wonders what that truly means, especially if her uncle is a mage. He realizes that unless someone possesses a secret class, such a rapid ascent is impossible, especially for a new student with no years of experience. Could it be that she holds such a secret? A status window appears, revealing the name Kim Hanbile, a beginner jewel mage. Her class is explicitly listed as jewel mage. The system confirms it, a secret class, jewel mage. Kim Soo-hyun's mind races, wondering when and how she could have possibly acquired such a rare and powerful secret class. A soft appa escapes her lips, but his thoughts are consumed by the terrifying implications. If the Golden Lion clan discovers her secret, they will undoubtedly try to take her away from him. And if they can't, he grimly concludes, they'll simply kill her. He cannot allow that to happen, he decides, resolving to view this as a temporary alliance. He will protect her, and then, he will take her power for himself. Kim Soo-hyun stands by a castle wall, his expression resolute as he declines an unseen offer, stating his intention not to join them. A voice from off-panel questions his decision, asking why he would decline, to which he admits it is difficult to explain. Kim Hanbile, her eyes wide with surprise, reacts to his words, wondering about his unusual response. The conversation turns to the Golden Lion clan, the most powerful organization in the Western continent, as the voice expresses disbelief that he would refuse their offer, questioning if he intends to start anew or if he has a secret strategy. Soo-hyun, deep in thought, clarifies that while he has received other offers, he has no intention of joining the Golden Lion clan. Seon Woo-yun stands firm, declaring his intention not to join the Golden Lion or any other clans. A young woman with long dark hair looks at him, her expression etched with confusion, asking what he means by such a statement. She reminds him that joining a large clan is the only way to survive in the Hall Plain, a truth he surely knows as well. He acknowledges her point, but a deeper concern weighs on him. His gaze drifts away as he explains his reluctance. It would mean leaving their companions behind to join a clan by himself. The young woman quickly offers a solution, suggesting she could stay and seek help from others, revealing this was the very topic she wanted to discuss. However, Seon Woo-yun dismisses her idea, stating that isn't the real issue. Still trying to understand his reasoning, his companion asks if he intends to join a clan, reminding him of his earlier concerns about the dangers of the Hall Plain. He confirms his intention to stay, prompting her to question if he plans to make a new group, or if he's simply going to stay there, alone. Meanwhile, Hyun's voice echoes, acknowledging someone's unique abilities, remarking that they are more skilled than other players. Back in the Grand Hall, his companion continues her plea, emphasizing that the Hall Plain is a place of passage where one needs a clan to survive, and that relying on others for protection is essential. Hyun's voice returns, expressing his belief that her decision is rational, but then questions if she's being too single-minded. He continues, his expression serious, asking who she is to judge others as deadweight. Her face tightens in response, as Hyun accuses her of judging without knowing anything. Back with Seon Woo-yun, his companion apologizes for her persistence, but insists that her reasoning is sound. She then points out that the Golden Lion clan has been active in the Iron Mountain region for a long time, suggesting their influence will soon reach the north. Still trying to convince him, the woman explains that refusing to join a clan would mean no one to guide them back to Earth, and they would miss out on crucial information, leaving new clans vulnerable to falling behind. Her expression earnest, she reiterates, that is precisely why she cannot comprehend his decision, before posing a direct question. She challenges him, asking if there is any guarantee that their expedition to the Iron Mountain will even succeed. Her words conjure images of the past, specifically the catastrophic downfall of the Golden Lion clan, once revered as the most powerful across all continents. They had fought fiercely for their continent, their expedition promising to predict the future and solve all problems, but it ultimately failed to deliver on its grand promises. As a stark reminder of that hubris, the expedition had been a complete and utter failure, leaving only a bloodied sword as its legacy. Turning back to him, the woman asks if he has truly considered what it means to become a commander in a large clan, and if he can truly trust such people. Her gaze remains fixed on him, her expression unwavering. Finally, Seon Woo-yun begins to speak, his voice a quiet "I." Seon Woo-yun looks down, lost in thought, reflecting on his past hopes of becoming a steadfast support for others. Yet, a quiet resignation settles over him as he walks away from a towering structure, admitting to himself that he might not be that person after all. A few days later, the long-awaited graduation ceremony finally arrived. Meanwhile, Kim Soo-hyun stands before a glowing blue system screen, his gaze fixed on a list of 4 crucial points. As his companions gather behind him, the screen confirms a quest complete, prompting a flurry of questions and exclamations from the group, wondering if he intends to give up so easily. He assures them he hasn't given up everything, but they press him further, eager to know his next moves. With a cheerful hee-hee and a declaration of loyalty, his companions affirm that good things always happen when they follow Kim Soo-hyun. They challenge him, asking what he takes them for, and demand to know if he's truly planning to abandon them after all this time, especially since they rejected other recruiters because they trusted him. Their intense conversation is interrupted by a new voice, as Woo Young Min calls out to Kim Soo-hyun. Sean Woo Yoon, having spent the last 13 weeks in a state of quiet contemplation, observes the scene before him. He notes that his companions haven't joined a clan either, as Park Hyun-woo addresses Kim Soo-hyun, suggesting he join her. She believes it's a good suggestion, one that would make clearing dungeons much easier. Kim Soo-hyun, however, seems to have other plans, as he responds with a dismissive, not a bad suggestion, before turning away. Park Hyun-woo, taken aback, questions his attitude, while Seon Woo-yoon recalls a past problem, a memory of being stabbed. He thinks back to a time when someone mocked him, saying, "Look who's talking," and expressing surprise that he hadn't been stabbed with his potty mouth. The memory continues with the taunt, "We're out of the academy now, want me to stab you?" Seon Woo-yoon, in the flashback, defiantly asks, "How do you know how to hold a sword?" The aggressor retorts, "I'm a mercenary, you know? Want to fight for real? You fucking manlet," before Seon Woo-yoon simply asks, "What?" The scene shifts to a brutal fight, as multiple figures attack Seon Woo-yoon, who is clearly outnumbered, while his companions, including in Seoul, Park Dong-gul, Han Bile, Lee Yu-young, the Priestess of Brilliance, and In Hyun, watch helplessly from the sidelines. He is urged to fight back, but also told to let go, as the attackers declare they'll leave him half dead. Back in the present, Seon Woo-yoon dismisses the memory, stating, "That's not happening," as Park Hyun-woo tries to intervene, telling Kim Soo-hyun to stop him from joining a clan. Kim Soo-hyun simply replies, "Of course." With a final exchange, Kim Soo-hyun wishes Seon Woo-yoon well, saying, "Let's hope we meet again," to which Seon Woo-yoon replies, "Yep, stay safe," as they part ways. As the carriage approaches a formidable stone gate, Han Bile turns to her companion, explaining that their clan will handle the negotiations before they can enter. With the gate now open, allowing them passage, she confirms their successful entry with a simple, affirmative reply. Beyond the threshold, a grand castle stands, its ancient walls and towering turrets overlooking a winding river, a testament to the power and history contained within. Beyond the towering walls, a vast continent stretched out, dotted with numerous cities. Each regular city, whether within the walls or on the continent, held 2 minor cities under its jurisdiction. This intricate network ensured constant communication and mutual support, a vital system for survival in this harsh world. As Kim Soo-hyun and his companions traversed the landscape, the red-haired woman confirmed their destination, Mile, the furthest city on the continent, wondering aloud why they were headed there. He explained that Mile's surrounding terrain was notoriously treacherous because it was the last city to be developed, but also noted that the monsters there were said to be weak variants, making it a good training ground for new players. The red-haired woman, impressed by his knowledge, praised him for paying attention during their classes. Yet, a sense of unease settled over her, as she confessed her fear and reminded him of his own earlier bad feeling, while their other companions watched from a distance, wondering about their hesitation. The map of the region shows many areas still unsecured, marked with red crosses, indicating that most of the vicinity around the city has already been thoroughly looted. Amidst the bustling city, many groups are vying for their own territories, creating intense competition, meaning there will be a significant amount of work left for them to do. He mentions rumors of others planning to cross the river and reclaim the land, prompting the red-haired woman to suggest it might be better to stay in their current rank and join an existing expedition. But he reminds her that they are only beginners, and it would be wiser to let the more experienced groups go first while they maintain their distance as small fries. He then shifts the topic to the city of Mile, located deep beyond the river in a vast, desolate desert, asking if she doesn't think it will be difficult. Despite the inherent danger of Sun Mountain, which is too perilous for her, and their determination to go anyway, he believes Mile will ultimately be the best place for her. A vision of a priestess of brilliance, surrounded by a golden aura, appears as the narrator emphasizes that rare classes are incredibly powerful, and he must acquire them on this journey before anyone else does. Back with the group, the red-haired woman admits she is scared, and Kim Soo-hyun questions if she intends to stay behind, reminding her that she herself had found this place unsettling earlier. As the dark-haired man impatiently asks if they are going or not, and the blue-haired woman wonders what the two are doing, Kim Soo-hyun continues, recalling her earlier sentiment that they shouldn't stay here and that she had a bad feeling. He listens as the red-haired woman voices her concern about the difficulty of reaching Mile, acknowledging her desire for a rare class, but also her apprehension about the journey itself. She reiterates her worry about the distance to Mile, prompting him to state that nothing comes for free in this world, before she asks if they are truly going. He responds with a slight smirk, asking what she means, as they are obviously going. The group approaches a developed city, marked by 2 towering, futuristic spires reaching into the sky. As they walk towards a grand building, the red-haired woman murmurs about surrendering herself to the situation. He reassures her not to worry, explaining that developed cities like this one pay well to attract more players, then asks how much she has saved from her reward stipend. She calls out to the others, looking distressed, while he turns to her, asking why she has been so quiet. He continues, questioning why she's acting this way when she didn't even know she had a bad feeling about it before. With a soft whoosh, he extends a small pouch towards her. Still visibly apprehensive, the red-haired woman confesses her fear, prompting Soo-hyun to question if she intends to remain behind, reminding her of her earlier discomfort with their current location. He explains that since they will be together for a long time, he believes it is better for her to manage her own funds, adding with a slight boast that he is a person who gives 5 silver. Meanwhile, Hyun observes the city's architecture, his expression thoughtful. As the group reconvenes, the blue-haired woman, the dark-haired man, and Hyun join Soo-hyun and the red-haired woman, and with a collective resolve, they decide to move forward. Their destination is clear, as they approach a magnificent, towering gate, its grand design hinting at the importance of Mile. With a soft hum, the warp gate begins its activation sequence, shimmering with nascent energy as its progress slowly climbs to 5%. The gate's luminous blue energy intensifies, reaching 50% before finally completing its full activation, ready for passage. Stepping through the shimmering portal, the blue-haired woman remarks on the sheer convenience of warp gates. Emerging into a new, tranquil landscape, the group takes in their surroundings, appreciating the fresh air, the majestic mountains, the clear water, and the profound quiet of their destination. As the group arrives, a voice calls out to him, questioning if this serene place is indeed Mile, while he smiles, already considering it a good location for their new base. Taking in the picturesque landscape of the village, he remarks on its beauty, then suggests they all rest for a bit, acknowledging their journey has been tiring. A quaint, two-story inn stands before them, its wooden facade and tiled roof suggesting a long history. Kim Soo-hyun observes the building, while Hanbile, clearly unnerved, voices her apprehension about staying there, earning a dismissive stop whining from him. She continues to complain, noting that even their leader remains silent, and finds the inn's sign itself suspicious. The blue-haired female tries to reassure Hanbile, suggesting she'll be fine if they stay, to which Hanbile reluctantly agrees, adding that there don't seem to be any other inns nearby anyway. Soo-hyun, looking at the inn, remarks that the place is exactly as he remembers it. From a distance, Hyun observes the group, commenting that the others seem to be working hard. A woman with long, dark hair and an elegant demeanor offers a slight smile, acknowledging the group's arrival, even if their relationship might be adversarial. With a soft thud of footsteps, the group begins to enter the inn. As they step inside, Kim Soo-hyun and his companions announce their presence, looking around the unfamiliar interior. Suddenly, the elegant woman lets out a startled cry, her face contorted in fear as she pleads for help. The rest of the group looks on in confusion, uncertain of what could have provoked such a reaction. Their gaze falls upon the innkeeper, a woman with long, dark hair draped in a simple blanket, who greets them with a curious expression. The elegant woman, recovering slightly, questions the innkeeper's unusual attire, wondering if she's a student or simply preparing for a meal or rest. As the group reacts with a mix of confusion and exasperation, the innkeeper calmly introduces herself as the priestess of brilliance, urging them to settle down. However, the dark-haired male companion, enraged by her appearance, shouts a furious threat, demanding to know where she acquired such an outfit. Outside a rustic building, a lone figure lies on the ground, desperately pleading for help. Meanwhile, inside the inn, an unsettling silence hangs heavy in the air, the establishment appearing eerily empty. The elegant woman voices her surprise at the quiet, as the innkeeper, the priestess of brilliance, presents a menu, assuring them she can cook anything they desire, even off-menu items, if the ingredients are available. With a soft thud, the menu is placed on their table, and the priestess instructs them to call her when they've made their decision. Without hesitation, the elegant woman quickly orders a course meal for 4, remarking that good-looking men are decisive, which amuses the innkeeper. As the priestess turns to leave, the red-haired female questions the hasty order, but the elegant woman simply affirms her choice. Looking around the deserted room, the red-haired female voices her deep suspicion about the inn's emptiness, and the elegant woman readily agrees, suggesting they find another place. However, the dark-haired male dismisses their concerns, stating his dislike for wasting time, and sees nothing suspicious about the place, nor any other viable dining options nearby. The red-haired female reminds him of his earlier bad feeling, but suggests they eat first before deciding, while the elegant woman expresses her annoyance at his dismissive attitude. He insists they need to leave, having stayed too long, and recounts the Duchess's distress, convinced there's a secret surrounding the elegant woman. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoes through the inn, as the red-haired female cries out in terror, while the dark-haired male exclaims his shock at the strange occurrence. Before anyone can react, the elegant woman has the red-haired female in a tight, almost suffocating embrace, her expression unreadable as dark energy seems to swirl around them. The red-haired female's face contorts in a silent scream, her eyes wide with fear. The elegant woman dismisses any notion of curiosity about her captive, claiming she couldn't care less, while the red-haired female struggles against her. Shadowy tendrils emerge from the elegant woman, dragging the struggling red-haired female deeper into the encroaching darkness, her form becoming obscured by the swirling gloom. The dark-haired male watches in disbelief, questioning how someone could hold a woman captive as a human shield, realizing she is no ordinary human. The elegant woman pulls Yu Young even closer, her grip tightening as the red-haired female remains trapped. Yu Young cries out for help, calling for her appa, while Kim Soo-hyun observes the scene, acknowledging that everyone should be frightened by this display of power. With a subtle shift in her expression, the elegant woman considers the situation, deciding it's time to put an end to any further distress. Soon after, the group finds themselves gathered around a table, the tension seemingly diffused as they prepare for a meal. Her gaze sharpens, and with a soft gasp from the red-haired female, she firmly takes hold of her chin, asserting her will. As the food is served, the dark-haired male exclaims in surprise, while the blue-haired female wonders if it's already time to eat, and Kim Soo-hyun simply declares it's time to eat. The blue-haired female then voices her feeling of being given the cold shoulder, recalling how she was told she would become someone filled with regret, pondering the depth of her emotions. A narration box emphasizes that this experience is crucial, having occurred many times in the future for Yu Hyunbi, as the blue-haired female asks if they are going to form a clan, a concept Kim Soo-hyun seems unsure about. She clarifies her vision for the clan, explaining it involves defeating monsters, exploring dungeons, and gaining experience, making Kim Soo-hyun wonder if she thinks this is merely a video game. Despite his skepticism, she insists they should form a clan now, suggesting they decide on a name first, though she finds names like Golden Dragon too tacky, preferring something cute. She offers Pink Rabbit as an example, which Kim Soo-hyun immediately dismisses as uncool, before she counters with White Rose, still finding it better than Golden. Kim Soo-hyun, with a thoughtful expression, states that they need a better name, then questions why someone else won't make one. He clarifies that it's not that he can't, but that they can't, explaining that the four of them don't currently meet the requirements to form an official clan, which elicits a shocked exclamation from the blue-haired female. As the group prepares to move, a sense of unease settles over them, with one of the companions admitting, "I'm scared." Kim Soo-hyun turns to her, questioning if she intends to stay behind, especially after she had previously expressed being spooked by the area. Later, seated around a table with other companions, the conversation continues, with another voice urging them to decide whether they are going or not, and wondering what the two of them are doing. The red-haired woman, her expression hardening, reveals her true feelings, declaring, "I'm angry." A dark, swirling aura of frustration emanates from her as she challenges his perception, asking if he truly sees her as an idiot or a mere servant. She then wonders if her intentions are being misjudged. Kim Soo-hyun acknowledges that caution is valuable, but suggests she might be overly cautious. Internally, the red-haired woman dismisses the idea that he is there for a treasure map, only to immediately contradict herself, affirming that they are indeed there for the treasure map, a common goal in the Hall Plane, as the academy instructors always warned. "If you're afraid, then that's good," the red-haired female declares, her voice sharp, "because only when you realize your weakness can you truly grow stronger." Soo-hyun, his brow furrowed, questions her, "Then are you just going to stay here? You said earlier this place was spooking you out." His gaze shifts, a serious expression settling on his face as the red-haired female presses him. "You know, right, Appa?" A soft blue glow emanates from Soo-hyun as he begins to explain the intricate process of magic discharge, detailing how mana separates into spirit and demolition. The red-haired female watches, her initial surprise quickly turning into a determined plea, asking him to teach her this skill. With a confident nod, Soo-hyun agrees, promising to impart a very powerful skill. He continues his explanation of the magic discharge, illustrating the separation of mana into spirit and demolition, while the red-haired female and the dark-haired male listen intently at their restaurant table. A sudden, urgent directive appears, instructing them to move to anywhere in this restaurant as quickly as possible. The blue-haired female's legs are already in motion, her swift steps indicating their immediate departure. Responding to the urgent call, Kim Soo-hyun moves with swift purpose, his steps echoing softly as he navigates the red-lit, grid-like environment. The air around him hums with a low thrumming sound, a subtle energy indicating the speed of his passage. Behind him, the red-haired female questions his earlier apprehension, reminding him that he had found this very place unsettling. As he processes her words, Soo-hyun's senses extend, pinpointing Lee Yu-young's exact location directly behind him, perched atop a table. A surprised exclamation escapes him at the clarity of his perception. Turning to face him, the red-haired female, now identified as Yu-young, expresses her astonishment, demanding to know how he managed such an accurate assessment. He begins his explanation, detailing the first stage of mana sensing, known as sense, which involves linking one's mana flow to objects to enhance perception. Soo-hyun elaborates, illustrating how this technique would allow her to detect anyone or anything attempting to sneak up on her, prompting an excited gasp from Yu-young. He confirms the general effectiveness of sense, but cautions that it isn't foolproof, especially if one is too engrossed or the threat is too swift to react to. He further explains that threats can also come from above, and there are even ways to subtly blend one's mana with another person's. He continues to explain the most advanced form of sense, which allows for undetectable mana usage, prompting Yu-young to wonder if that's why he couldn't locate her owner. Then, with a precise hand gesture, he introduces coercion, describing it as a magic discharge that injects one's will directly into an opponent's mana. This technique, he explains, is a dirty trick meant to break an enemy's will, requiring an overwhelming amount of mana to execute. Her eyes wide with determination, Yu Young immediately declares her desire to learn and use coercion, prompting a gentle rebuke from him. He reminds her that she's still struggling with the basics of sense and linking mana, and coercion is a much higher level skill. He emphasizes that it can only be used after mastering both sense and linking mana, otherwise it's impossible to wield, but she insists, pleading for him to at least teach her. Curious about his own journey, she asks when he acquired these formidable skills. He casually mentions learning them during his training, adding that his instructor was a bit soft, which makes her playfully tease him about being a weak nerd figure back then. He clarifies that his training was entirely focused on sense, which she had mistakenly thought was mere meditation. Then, with a slight hesitation, he reveals his true mastery. It took him only a single day to master sense, 2 weeks for occupy, and coercion in the final week. He muses on his own past, recalling how long it took him to master certain skills. Turning to his student, he asks, "So how long will it take you guys?" A confident smile plays on his lips as he adds, "I'm looking forward to seeing who'll be the first. Heh, I think it'll be me like always." His student, Lee Yu Young, internally expresses her own determination, while a memory flashes through his mind, a voice praising him for mastering a skill in a single day, to which he had reacted with surprise. However, the current reality of his students is quite different. None of the 3 trainees were able to perfect sense in one day. They didn't even last an hour, with Yu Young enduring the longest, pushing herself for 20 minutes and 37 seconds before the end of their first day on the hill. A training session concludes with Park Dong-gul collapsing to the floor, groaning that he feels like he's going to die, but Kim Soo-hyun simply tells him to go out as well, having already finished his own training. Later, looking out a window, Soo-hyun decides to gather some information, instructing his companion to keep up with his training. He arrives in a quiet, seemingly abandoned village. As he walks through the empty streets, he wonders if everyone left quickly, noting the lack of developed areas that were simply abandoned. Consulting a map, he pinpoints a location, confirming its presence. With a surge of energy, Soo-hyun activates a skill, glowing particles swirling around him as a magic circle forms beneath his feet. He is instantly transported to a new, futuristic chamber, a holographic display welcoming him to the player's exclusive storage, prompting him to check the options he had purchased. Holding a glowing orb, he muses that there's no point in saving them, a determined blue aura flaring around him. Having just used a skill and an item, Soo-hyun brings up his player status, a holographic display shimmering before him, and he begins to review his current standing. The screen reveals Kim Soo-hyun, a 23-year-old sword specialist with a master's degree, currently at level 24, standing 181.5 centimeters tall and weighing 73.5 kilograms, with a lawful chaos alignment. He notices 12 unspent attribute points, and a thought forms in his mind. As long as Eve is with him, he can use these points to buy time, so he'll keep them for now. Surrounded by shimmering blue energy and a glowing orb, he considers the true challenge ahead, the real problem being when he'll need to draw his sword and consume his elixirs. A small smile plays on his lips, relieved he hadn't used them prematurely. Stepping out into the open, leaving the abandoned village behind, he knows time is a luxury he doesn't possess. His gaze sharpens, the weight of an impending conflict heavy on his mind, with at most 3 months remaining until the First Alliance War. Approaching the Huel Municipal Library, he understands his immediate task. He doesn't have a lot of time, which means he needs to gain as much information as possible using the knowledge he already possesses. Kim Soo-hyun, deep in a room filled with books, questions what his companion has been doing. As the red-haired female peeks hesitantly from behind a door, wondering aloud what they should do next. He reassures her, mentioning the special training they are undergoing. She acknowledges his words, but her expression betrays a deep-seated fear, admitting her apprehension. Soo-hyun emphasizes the critical importance of their work, explaining that sense training is essential for close combat fighters. Despite his words, the red-haired female slumps over a table, a sigh of frustration or exhaustion escaping her. Their research leads them to an ancient document, covered in intricate symbols and text, posing questions about the revival and end of ancient alchemy. Soo-hyun gestures to the piles of books, confirming that this is the information they sought, all these volumes leading to the mysterious text. Focusing on a map-like drawing within the document, he ponders if it relates to a city that doesn't truly exist. A shiver runs through the red-haired female as she admits her fear, prompting Kim Soo-hyun to question her resolve, reminding her that she was the one who found this place unsettling. From a distance, the blue-haired female calls out, asking if they are ready to leave, while the dark-haired male wonders what the two are doing, prompting the red-haired female to reiterate her bad feeling about staying there. Despite her apprehension, she confirms that diligently sifting through all these ancient texts should indeed yield the clues they seek. Kim Soo-hyun, for his part, explains his meticulous process, having delved into records spanning miles and ages, even exploring new, uncharted locations, acknowledging the task is taking longer than anticipated, but vowing to see it through. The red-haired female, however, finds his method foolish, a strategy she would never employ if she could simply waltz into an alchemist dungeon, then hesitantly asks if he's offering his help. He apologizes, explaining his need to continue his sense training, to which she responds with an encouraging, "Keep at it, Soo-hyun appa." With renewed determination, Kim Soo-hyun returns his focus to the daunting task before him. His gaze sharpens, eyes fixed on the intricate details of an ancient document, revealing a faded, map-like drawing. A breakthrough. He realizes he's found a lead, and knows he must travel to the sea to confirm its truth. The map clearly marks the location of an ancient alchemist's dungeon, along with the laboratory ruins. A heavy wooden door, intricately carved, remained shut, guarding whatever lay beyond. From the other side, a figure moved through a room bathed in an eerie red glow, their presence resonating with a low hum. One person, cloaked in shadow, approached the door, their destination clear. Inside, Kim Soo-hyun's eyes widened, recognizing the distinct energy signature. This presence, he realized, was hers. But who could it be? With a slow, deliberate creak, the heavy door began to open. Footsteps echoed softly as a figure stepped through the threshold, announcing her arrival with a simple, confident declaration. "It's me." The woman, tall and elegant in a flowing white robe, met his gaze, a knowing smile playing on her lips as she added, "But you already knew that." Soo-hyun's expression tightened, his eyes reflecting a mix of surprise and recognition. This was no ordinary visitor. She was one of the Shadow Queen's 12 Knights of Darkness, the formidable Shadow Queen, So-hyun-ju herself. Kim Soo-hyun considers the implications of a powerful woman, one who was once among the legendary Mighty Ten. A title given to the strongest players in their respective fields, and specifically, the Shadow Queen So-hyun-ju, who had been a formidable force in the previous timeline. Meanwhile, in an inn within Mind City, So-hyun-ju stands, her voice calm as she asks, "It's late. What do you need?" Elsewhere, a man's face contorts in a silent scream of anguish, his eyes wide with terror. Unaware of the distant turmoil, So-hyun-ju hums softly, her gaze fixed on an ancient scroll spread before her. So-hyun-ju holds Kim Soo-hyun close, her voice a low murmur as she speaks of something she has never witnessed before, asking if he will accept it. He refuses, insisting they cannot let anyone else discover their secret. A golden, intricate pattern glows behind her as she confirms, "Yes." The Player Academy's prodigy, Kim Soo-hyun, a fresh new player, looks at her, while she regards him with a knowing smirk. He reacts with a startled, "Huh?" Now seated and examining a scroll, So-hyun-ju muses about players being mere little meals, having seen countless thousands of them, yet never one quite like him. Kim Soo-hyun's expression twists in conflict, unable to accept her words. With a sudden movement, she takes his hand, purple energy flaring around their joined grasp, a clear sign that she has him. Surrounded by the ethereal glow, he reluctantly concedes, "Yes, I am." A knowing smirk plays on her lips as she presses him. "Then won't you tell me what it is you're hiding?" Her gaze remains fixed on him, a silent pressure urging him to speak, as he struggles to articulate the truth. As if to compel him further, her eyes begin to glow with an ethereal purple light, a silent command to continue. He clutches his head, the words escaping him like elusive shadows. She watches his struggle, a faint, knowing smile playing on her lips. Suddenly, she pulls him closer, a surge of purple energy enveloping them both as he cries out in surprise. A soft, almost seductive voice whispers, "Your shadow is very pretty." He recoils from her words, his expression a mixture of shock and fear. A single, desperate word escapes him. As So-hyun-ju's power pressed in, a desperate plea echoed within Kim Soo-hyun's mind, urging him to resist the overwhelming force that threatened to unravel him. Meanwhile, So-hyun-ju observed his very essence, a status window displaying Kim Soo-hyun's basic information, a low-ranked hunter at level 1, with minimal stats and no skills or equipment. Despite the unimpressive numbers, she found his underlying potential to be surprisingly compelling. Still, the mental assault continued, forcing Kim Soo-hyun to clench his fist, his resolve hardening against the invisible chains. He considered the woman before him, her power undeniable, realizing she could be an invaluable ally, or a formidable obstacle if she refused to join his future clan. A dangerous smirk touched his lips as he concluded, he would have to eliminate her if it came to that. So-hyun-ju's voice cut through his thoughts, her gaze piercing as she asked if he knew her, her tone suggesting a deeper connection. Reaching out, her hand hovered near him as she confessed, she liked shadows, which was why she found him so intriguing. Her expression shifted to one of intense concern as she warned him to avoid any foolish actions. With a confident smile, Kim Soo-hyun announces to his companion, he has an announcement to make, presenting her with a small bag. Her eyes widening in surprise, the brown-haired woman exclaims, wondering if it's a magic bag, before reminding everyone to wait their turn. The bag's contents are revealed to be an assortment of finely crafted weapons, including a sturdy axe and a gleaming dagger. Later, gathered with the brown-haired woman, a red-haired man, and Park Dong-gul, Kim Soo-hyun explains that he acquired the items as a quest reward and intends to distribute them. He then instructs the group to pack their bags, as they are heading to the inn's entrance. The red-haired man questions the sudden change of plans, wondering why they aren't training but instead moving their belongings into rooms at the inn. The reason becomes clear as the narration explains that today is for preparing for the Dungeon of Darkness, with the actual exploration set for tomorrow. With the caravan of Kim Soo-hyun and Kyun and Sol and Lee Yu-young now confirmed, Kim Soo-hyun and Kyun receive a final farewell, embarking on their journey as a voice wishes them a safe passage. The path ahead winds into a dense, foreboding forest. And Kim Soo-hyun pauses to consult a map, his gaze fixed on the intricate lines and symbols. As they delve deeper, a sense of unease settles over them, reminding them that this is the very edge of the forest of darkness, demanding their full focus and readiness. Kim Soo-hyun observes their surroundings, noting the challenging terrain and remarking that it feels like a rough path. And Kyun then suggests they make camp for the day, prompting Kim Soo-hyun to question Lee Yu-young about the decision, wondering if they shouldn't have set up camp earlier. As the two companions venture deeper into the ominous forest of darkness, Kim Soo-hyun calls out, a single word echoing through the dense foliage. He observes the strange energy of the forest, noting that his usual abilities are hampered, explaining that he cannot utilize his classes here. The very air around them seems to shimmer with an unseen, grid-like force, a silent testament to the forest's peculiar nature, as if it were the end of the world. His companion, looking up at him with concern, questions his words, while he responds, acknowledging her presence and adding that he is using his skill to hold on. He continues, explaining that even if one possesses a specialized class, it would be less effective than general skills. He then muses on the nature of his own training, recalling that he learned general skills and traits at the academy. His thoughts then shift to their missing companions, noting that there were 5 people in this group when he arrived. He ponders whether they simply got lost or if something more sinister occurred, but the unsettling truth is that there are no traces of them remaining. He concludes, a grim realization dawning on him, that there were indeed 5 people in this group, or perhaps not. There is no trace of the missing group members entering the grove, but they haven't left either, leading the leader to grimly conclude they could all be dead. He reminds his companions that they are quite deep inside the dangerous forest, urging them to watch out. A strange, glowing green grid pattern shimmers across the ground. And he quickly realizes it's an ambush, with monsters approaching from both directions. With a sharp command, he orders Sol to take Yu-young and hold the front line, instructing them to activate their senses and prepare instant spells. His red eyes burn with intensity as he repeats himself, demanding they get it together and take the center. The red-haired woman, startled, can only manage a choked sound of surprise as a sudden impact echoes through the air. As the green grid intensifies around them, he stands in the center, his body glowing with a powerful aura, ready to face the encroaching threat. A chilling memory consumes him, a past failure where his defenses were shattered, his instant spells useless, and the terrifying thought of dying here again echoes in his mind. Meanwhile, Sol stands frozen, his senses straining against the oppressive silence of the forest. Suddenly, a sharp sound cuts through the air as a monstrous claw lunges from the shadows. Both Sol and Yu-young recoil in terror, a desperate cry escaping her lips as she urges him to move. The creature's segmented leg strikes with blinding speed, its sharp tip poised to impale. Yu-young screams a warning, but it's almost too late. Sol, staff raised, manages to conjure a defensive orb, bracing for impact. But before the attack can land, Kim Soo-hyun bursts forward, his eyes glowing crimson, a verdant aura flaring around him as he unleashes a devastating purple energy blast, vowing not to let his companions die again. The powerful attack obliterates the scorpion-like monster, leaving only its shattered remains. A scorpion-like monster, its segmented body of vibrant purple and its tail tipped with a venomous stinger, lies defeated, yet the memory of its kind still haunts him. He recalls the Academy's lessons about these creatures, specifically the poison in their tails. As he processes the danger, Lee Yu-young, her expression a mix of concern and frustration, reminds him that he cannot simply abandon them, especially after he himself had sensed something amiss earlier, asking if he intends to just stay there. With a sudden shift in demeanor, her eyes widening in realization, she calls out to everyone, urging them to get back into a defensive formation. Meanwhile, 2 figures move deeper into the dark, ominous forest, unaware of the unfolding ambush, as a voice from the shadows suggests they attack from behind, while another urges them to keep their guard up. Observing the scene with a pale, concerned expression, So Yeonju acknowledges the ambush, realizing it was indeed an ambush. Back with the group, Kim Soo-hyun, still looking troubled, admits he knows they can't stay there, but he doesn't trust the others. Lee Yu-young, her face set with determination, prepares for the next move. A dark, ominous energy pulses, casting a deep red glow across the unseen surroundings. Kim Soo-hyun turns, his expression etched with concern as he addresses his companions, a quiet "you guys," escaping his lips. His gaze falls upon the red-haired woman and the dark-haired man, who both look back with worried eyes, before he offers a hesitant, "Esri." The group, now including Hyun and Sol, stands together, the red-haired woman calling out "guys," while the dark-haired man questions, "What?" Soo-hyun's thoughts drift to his past, a deep sense of care for his team evident as he recalls, "I really cared about you all." He remembers the moment he chose them, thinking, "Since I chose you for my team, you became my guardian." The sentiment deepens. Even since the first passage, I always thought you were my family. Yet, a shadow of doubt crosses his face as he concludes, but he reflects on his own naivety, realizing, I didn't think my naive assumptions would come back to bite me. Despite their efforts to establish a defensive formation and carve out a path, they found themselves staring blankly at the ground, unable to move forward. A young woman, her expression etched with fear, admits her apprehension. The protagonist, Kim Soo-hyun, looks down, acknowledging his own shortcomings, admitting that he had failed to manage his strength. Reflecting on the recent battle, he considers how the fight almost made him doubt the capabilities of his companions, graduates of the Player Academy, especially if they had faced multiple scorpions. He then questions his own judgment, asking if he was wrong to insist they stay in this place. The red-haired woman quickly denies it, shaking her head. A dry, humorless sound escapes him, a single ha, hanging in the air. His thoughts drift to a different path, wishing he could return to Barbara at this very moment and start over with a new caravan of experienced players. Meanwhile, his companions discuss their next move, with Insol asking if they are going or not, while dark-haired male wonders what the other two are doing. The red-haired woman reiterates her fear, reminding them that they shouldn't stay here and that she had a bad feeling. Kim Soo-hyun, however, remains resolute, stating that he doesn't mind staying. As their positions are visually tracked on a map, the red-haired woman again expresses her fear, while Kim Soo-hyun reassures her that he is okay. He begins to lay out his strategy, emphasizing the critical importance of their formation. His companion questions the details of their triangular arrangement, to which he demonstrates the critical flaw of a single slip, explaining how it could lead to a fatal outcome for anyone. Continuing his instruction, he stresses that breaking their formation would ruin their entire defensive shape. She confirms her understanding that the shape must be maintained at all costs, and he affirms her conclusion. Beyond mere evasion, he instructs them to use their senses to anticipate an opponent's attack path, to defend proactively, and to seek out vulnerabilities. He warns that if their formation collapses, the one who breaks it will be the first to fall, dragging the others down with them. He reiterates the absolute necessity of protecting their shape, declaring that standing alone would be meaningless. His companion acknowledges his words. With a final, resolute point, he states that his position at the front is solely because he is the one leading the way. His companions look on, one of them silently questioning his words. He moves forward, his figure resolute amidst the dense foliage. He pauses before a large, weathered stone, his gaze fixed. A swift, crimson energy slashes through the air, a testament to the power he wields, as he reminds himself of the capability required. He stands before his companions, a grim expression on his face, as one of them whispers, "I'm scared." A sickening squelch echoes through the air, followed by a heavy thud. The source of the sound is revealed, a bloodied figure, slumped on a rock, prompting a horrified gasp, "Be blood. It's a person." As the red-haired woman questions if they'll just stay there, reminding them of their earlier apprehension, the dark-haired man impatiently asks, "Hey, are we going or not?" And Hyun observes the new hunters with a critical eye, noting their inexperience, while Kim Soo-hyun simply finds the situation interesting. He turns to the red-haired woman, chastising her for failing to notice the stealthy presence on the rock, and commands everyone to pay attention. He reminds them that these are mana-infused beings, assuring them they can survive this kind of fight. And Hyun reinforces the lesson, urging them to stop talking, just as they were taught in the Player Academy, and to think of their adversaries as monsters, not people. Kim Soo-hyun's final command rings out, "Don't go soft, and kill them all." A young woman's voice trembles, admitting her fear, as Kim Soo-hyun turns to her, questioning her resolve. A faint green glow flickers, and a soft clock sound echoes, as he realizes her thoughts. He understands her hesitation. Suddenly, a collective gasp escapes them as the exit they had relied on slams shut, trapping them inside. Without a moment's hesitation, Kim Soo-hyun lunges forward, his voice sharp with command, urging his companion not to avert her gaze from the grim reality before them, as he unleashes a fierce attack, shouting for his enemies to perish. His strike connects with explosive force, sending a shockwave through the air. As more shadowy figures swarm them, the red-haired woman cries out in disbelief, unable to comprehend how so many monsters could appear at once. Undeterred, he continues his assault, a red aura flaring around his weapon as he delivers a powerful blow, the sound of impact echoing sharply. With a determined cry, a vibrant green energy erupts around him, signaling the activation of a potent skill. His enhanced attack connects, eliciting a pained grunt from his target, who recoils from the force. A sudden, unexpected threat causes the red-haired woman to gasp, as she instinctively unleashes a burst of energy from her hand, the force radiating outwards with a sharp impact. Her eyes widen in shock, a silent gasp escaping her lips at the sheer intensity of the situation. Meanwhile, a brutal blow connects with Kim Soo-hyun, sending blood spraying as he reels from the impact. He curses the situation, acknowledging the grim reality that he must now fight for his own survival, before steeling himself with a resolute "good" and commanding a restraint. The red-haired woman's eyes begin to glow with an ethereal light, raw power radiating from her form. As his own eyes blaze with fierce determination, Kim Soo-hyun unleashes a torrent of dark and light energy, channeling his will into a powerful restraint. A sudden surge of power courses through Kim Soo-hyun, his eyes glowing with an intense blue light as crackling energy surrounds him, leaving him utterly bewildered. Meanwhile, a mysterious hooded figure unleashes a potent yellow aura, its power radiating outwards with a distinct, sharp sound. Later, in a dark, moss-covered forest, Kim Soo-hyun, red-hair female, dark-hair male, and a cloaked companion stand victorious, their forms silhouetted against the dim light as defeated enemies lie scattered at their feet. A memory flashes back to a different time as Kim Soo-hyun, in civilian clothes, stares in disbelief, muttering about having gotten them and questioning the reality of what he's seeing. Red-hair female, also in civilian attire and visibly distraught, pleads for something, her voice trembling as she speaks of those who were killed and begs for people. Overwhelmed by the traumatic scene, Kim Soo-hyun clutches his head, a desperate plea escaping his lips. Please don't kill me. Back in the present, a thought echoes through his mind, a quiet resolve forming. You guys can do it as long as you actually try. He lies broken on the ground, his body battered and bruised, as a red-haired woman and a dark-haired man stand over him, their expressions a mix of concern and helplessness. But their concern is overshadowed by the arrival of two cloaked figures, one with a red mantle, who loom menacingly over the fallen man, their words dripping with disdain for his performance. A whimper escapes him, his face contorted in agony and terror as he begs for his life. But his pleas are met with a brutal stomp, a heavy boot crushing his hand with a sickening crack. Kneeling, he continues to plead, offering anything to survive, while the red-haired woman beside him desperately tries to reason with their tormentors. Tears stream down his face as he tries to justify his actions, explaining how he was forced into this situation, how he only wanted to live. Still on the ground, writhing in pain, he watches as the cloaked figure raises a hand, preparing to deliver a final, devastating blow. A crimson aura flares around the hand of In-hyun, the ominous glow reflecting in the terrified eyes of the man below. His eyes squeeze shut in anticipation of the impact, while In-hyun looks down, his expression cold and unyielding. Kim Soo-hyun is visibly terrified, expressing his fear, while the red-haired female questions if they should stay, reminding someone that the place was unsettling. Below, the dark-haired male asks if they are going or not, wondering what the two figures are doing, as the red-haired female reiterates that they shouldn't stay and she had a bad feeling. Ignoring their apprehension, In-hyun walks away, deeper into the ominous forest, as a hand reaches out, and a voice agrees with the bad feeling. The red-haired female looks on, questioning the necessity of killing someone who had already surrendered. The dark-haired male remarks that things are going too far, while the red-haired female remains silent, her expression troubled. In-hyun, now clad in a red cloak, senses the escalating danger, noting that the mood has turned truly bad, before realizing something is approaching. His eyes flash with an intense, crimson glow, power surging within him. Monsters emerge from the shadows, prompting In-hyun to command everyone to activate their formation, a desperate plea met with hesitant agreement. His eyes burn with an even fiercer red light, focusing his immense power. A devastating explosion of crimson energy erupts, tearing through the darkness. He finds himself paralyzed by fear, barely able to articulate his terror, while In-hyun simply questions his hesitation. Meanwhile, the rest of the group watches from a distance, wondering what the two are doing, with the red-haired woman expressing her unease about staying in this place. In-hyun, however, simply states, there are too many of them. His gaze hardening, he issues a firm command, do not back down at all costs. As glowing particles begin to swirl around his feet, In-hyun prepares for the inevitable confrontation. His eyes burning with a fierce red glow, he declares, that's fine. We'll just kill a little bit of all of these guys. I can't delay anymore. He commands In-Soul to cast a protection spell on Soo-hyun, instructing everyone to step back a little, before announcing his intention to break away from the formation. With a powerful whoosh, In-hyun unleashes his full power, a vibrant red aura flaring around him as an energy blade begins to materialize from his outstretched hand, ready to protect his companions. From the darkness above, with a chilling clack, shadowy, wolf-like creatures with glowing red eyes descend upon them. In-hyun stands firm, his massive, glowing red energy blade fully formed, a testament to his resolve to become one with the blade. In-hyun plunges his glowing red energy blade into the first of the wolf-like monsters, a violent impact spraying blood. He moves with blinding speed, his weapon a crimson blur as he engages another. But even his prowess isn't enough to avoid every strike, a monster's claw finding purchase on his back, drawing blood. Surrounded and outnumbered, he fights on, the metallic clang of impacts echoing through the dark. Despite the blood staining his clothes and face, a grim smile plays on his lips as he stands over the fallen, declaring he won't die here. But the respite is brief, as more wolf-like forms emerge from the shadows, their eyes gleaming. He braces himself once more, a silent challenge in his gaze. Suddenly, a voice cries out from behind him, filled with desperate concern. In-Soul, her face etched with worry, calls out to him, while Kim Soo-hyun stands beside her, equally distressed by the sight of his injuries. He reflects on the sheer power of the skill he just witnessed, the mana usage truly insane, realizing he must continue to feign weakness. Questioning why all the mana vanished after the death of his opponent, he desires to understand the source of this power, recognizing these are not the typical skills of a fresh player academy graduate, and wonders how he can escape this situation. A sigh escapes him as he concedes. He doesn't truly wish to maintain this facade, despite the necessity. Nearby, the red-haired female stands with him, her presence a quiet anchor in the strange, glowing environment. As they remain together, the ethereal green light continues to bathe their surroundings. Suddenly, the red-haired female reaches out to him, her voice urgent, calling out to Yu Young Yuni and Kim Minji to move, as if sensing an impending danger or revelation. Apologizing to her Oroboni, she takes his hand, intending to check his magic circuit, a soft green glow emanating from their joined palms. As her touch connects, a surge of energy causes his eyes to flare crimson, a guttural sound escaping him as the green aura intensifies around his face. His face contorted in a silent scream, the intense magical feedback overwhelms him, his crimson eyes burning brightly against the verdant glow. The mana around him spirals out of control, erupting in a blinding flash of light and raw energy, causing his companion to recoil in shock. A searing pain racks his body, blood trickling from his lips as the narrator identifies this as a severe case of mana inversion phenomenon. A deep sigh escapes Kim Soo-hyun as he lies in bed, his body racked by a truly terrible mana inversion phenomenon. This condition, his companion explains, occurs when his mana begins flowing backward, a direct result of overusing his powers. Shaking in his bed, he asks in disbelief if such a severe condition could be treated with a simple potion. But the prognosis is grim. The condition will continue to recur until it is completely treated, a daunting task hinted at by the ominous, towering castle in the distance. His companions, the red-haired woman and the dark-haired man, cry out in distress, pleading with him to return, trying to physically pull him away from whatever he's fixated on. With a desperate reach, he struggles, muttering to himself that he must keep it. As he falls to the ground, his companions continue to implore him to calm down, questioning if he intends to attract other vassals to their location. Now clad in a red hooded cloak, his eyes glowing with an intense light, Soo-hyun defiantly tells them he is fine, ordering them to stop shouting and repeating their question about attracting other vassals. Still reeling from his condition, Soo-hyun is met with concern from his companion, who apologizes for his state and suggests they return for now, fearing his condition might worsen if they continue to explore. But he dismisses her worries, his eyes glowing with an inner light, declaring that he can control this phenomenon himself and needs no medication to suppress his magic, instructing her to simply calm down and watch him. With a determined thump, he plants his hand firmly on the ground, a faint voice echoing his resolve to finally achieve some quiet. As red energy begins to pulse from his palm, he declares that now is the time. His eyes blaze with an intense, crimson glow, as a system message confirms the activation of the third eye. The very ground around them begins to writhe and transform, gurgling and shifting into a grotesque, organic landscape. Cracks spread across the newly formed, fleshy terrain, revealing glowing veins beneath the surface. Amidst the horrifying transformation, Soo-hyun stands tall and resolute, his companions now fallen to the ground, overwhelmed by the sudden, monstrous change in their surroundings. A young woman confesses her fear, questioning her companion's resolve to remain in a place that unnerves them both. Another man voices his doubts about their protector, while In-hyun defends his past actions, reminding them of the dangers they've already faced. The young woman suggests they should leave, but In-hyun cuts her off, emphasizing the need for constant vigilance. She admits her reluctance to be a burden, a sentiment Soo-hyun echoes, acknowledging their shared vulnerability. Suddenly, the air crackles with raw energy as Soo-hyun raises a glowing staff, the ground beneath him beginning to warp and twist. Vibrant yellow light erupts from the earth, consuming the forest in a blinding, organic transformation. Amidst the chaos, Seol stands, clutching her own staff, her eyes wide with confusion and alarm at the unfolding spectacle. A detached observation notes the abrupt end of a caravan's trail, suggesting an unnatural barrier and the proximity of a dungeon. Soo-hyun, now seated and contemplative, acknowledges the impossible situation, realizing he cannot simply send his companions away, even as he prepares to guide them back to safety. A subtle sound echoes through the transformed forest as he meets the gaze of his companion. His expression remains resolute, though a faint echo of the power he wielded still seems to cling to the air around him. The young man before him watches with a worried intensity. Seol asks, his voice laced with concern, as the dark-haired man stands nearby. "Appa, how are you feeling? Any better?" Kim Soo-hyun reassures him, explaining that he suppressed the power and will be careful, but Seol presses on, asking if they shouldn't return, recalling the pain he seemed to be in. He questions if he's the only one who senses the lingering effects, yet confidently asserts his understanding of his own body. "Nothing happened while I was meditating, right?" he asks, seeking confirmation. The three stand together amidst the softly glowing, moss-covered trees, a silent understanding passing between them. With their path forward decided, they press deeper into the eerie, verdant depths of the forest. The group stands amidst the glowing forest, a sense of unease settling over them as one of them voices the obvious danger of their current location, prompting agreement from another. And Soul then admits to a strange, conflicting intuition, feeling a pull both to avoid and to venture deeper into the mysterious woods. Turning to the protagonist, the red-haired female companion asks for his thoughts on their next move. Kim Soo-hyun, his gaze fixed on something unseen, responds with a single, thoughtful word, impressive. He then extends a hand towards a nearby rock, instructing his companions to simply watch. A sudden burst of light and energy erupts from his palm, enveloping the stone in a brilliant flash. With a soft, shimmering sound, the rock vanishes completely, leaving his companions stunned at the display of power. This phenomenon, a course marker, is a common trap near ruins, designed to disorient explorers and prevent them from finding their true path. And Soul, now understanding the implications, confirms that this is precisely what they have been searching for. As the group presses deeper into the glowing forest, the red-haired woman observes their surroundings, noting that they must traverse this perilous path, while Kim Soo-hyun senses a trap. She voices her concern that they might be caught if they don't stay close to him, prompting Kim Soo-hyun to declare with a fierce red aura that they must not let go, no matter what happens, a command his companions affirm. The traps of the ruins would continue to appear, and he knows he must find a way to keep the two safe, believing it is always better to be prepared. Leading the way through the dimly lit, glowing woods, Kim Soo-hyun presses onward. His companions follow closely behind him, their figures small against the towering, luminous trees. With each step, the ground beneath them glows with faint particles, a soft tack, echoing through the quiet forest. Traces of the caravan are now visible, having successfully navigated through the course barrier. Their pathfinder must be exceptionally skilled to have guided them all the way through, as the group continues their trek through the glowing forest. Kim Soo-hyun instructs everyone to stay close, while the red-haired woman remarks, "Some nice what I said," and the dark-haired man retorts, "Don't ever lie again." A new companion, and Soul, looks up in awe, exclaiming, "Whoa!" at the ethereal glow surrounding them. Indeed, all the trees within the forest are glowing with an otherworldly light. The red-haired woman observes the unsettling quiet. "I don't hear any sounds from animals or monsters." Soo-hyun, his expression grim, confirms her suspicion. This is a dangerous forest. Roughly 40 minutes later, the journey continues, and Soo-hyun, growing impatient, wonders, "When are we going to arrive?" He listens as the red-haired female confesses her growing fear, her legs aching and weariness setting in, wondering if they are even on the correct path. A soft rustle of leaves echoes through the glowing forest, and he challenges her, asking if she intends to simply remain there after admitting the place unnerved her earlier. As the group stands together, the red-haired female's voice cuts through the tension, urging them to decide whether to move forward, questioning what the other two are doing, and reminding them of her earlier bad feeling about staying. Suddenly, a grand, ancient castle emerges from the dense, glowing foliage, its towering spires and intricate architecture a stark contrast to the wild forest. The red-haired female looks on with a mix of awe and apprehension, muttering about how dungeons aren't usually so easy to find, and she never expected to actually stumble upon one. And Sol agrees, admitting he hadn't expected it either, while Soo-hyun simply attributes their discovery to dumb luck. With a newfound resolve, the red-haired female declares, "It's time for everyone to enter." A faint, almost mischievous chuckle accompanies their approach, as the group begins to move towards the imposing entrance of the castle. Kim Soo-hyun continued to hone his unique abilities, knowing that his summoning skill was far beyond ordinary, a power that transcended even the concept of an S rank, placing him in the elusive S0 category. As the group stood before the massive castle, the red-haired female, still processing the decision to enter, wondered aloud, "What exactly are we doing here?" Ignoring her apprehension, Kim Soo-hyun led the way, his footsteps echoing on the ancient stone as he began to ascend the grand, winding staircase. The rest of the party following closely behind him. They finally reached the top, revealing a cavernous, empty hall stretching out before them. Its sheer scale prompting the red-haired female to exclaim, "It's so big and empty." Kim Soo-hyun, ever practical, suggested, "Let's split up and look for the entrance." The red-haired female, however, had a different idea, musing, "Should we look under the carpets?" As they continued through the vast, empty castle, she wondered aloud if someone had already ransacked the place, questioning if this was yet another labyrinth. Suddenly, a voice cut through the silence, calling out to the others with urgency, having found something important. It was a hidden passage, a secret base now revealed, and she eagerly suggested they investigate the newly discovered entrance. He paused, concerned about the lack of equipment for the descent, but she dismissed his worries, confident they would be fine. As they began their careful descent, one of the men noted it wasn't as deep as he'd imagined, though another found the darkness unsettling. Taking charge, he declared he would go first, insisting they follow him one by one, a plan she readily agreed to, reiterating her belief that the shaft wasn't very deep. With a soft thud, he dropped into the unknown depths. From above, she confirmed it seemed safe, while another companion reiterated the darkness and poor visibility. Landing with a quiet step, he surveyed his new surroundings. He plunges into the abyss, the darkness swallowing him whole, a cry of fear escaping his lips as he hits the bottom with a painful grunt. The impact leaves him clutching his leg, a sprain already forming, as he recalls Hyun's warning to proceed slowly. Above, and Sol trembles, overwhelmed by fear for his companion, his mind racing with terrifying possibilities. And as the others debate whether to proceed, Sol's panic takes over, and with a terrified shriek, he tumbles into the dark shaft. Soo-hyun's name escapes Young's lips in a worried gasp, her eyes widening as she watches Sol fall after him. She tries to rush forward, desperate to follow, but Park Dong-gul holds her back, urging caution. Young, her face etched with concern, warns the others not to look down into the terrifying depths. Meanwhile, Sol continues his uncontrolled descent, a faint glow emanating from his form as he plummets. Landing with a sickening crack, the sound echoing through the cavern. Still plummeting through the inky blackness of the shaft, and Sol's descent seemed endless. While far below, Kim Soo-hyun lay in agony, his face contorted in pain and coated in a viscous, green substance. Above, Kim Han-byeol could only watch in horror, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and helplessness as her companion vanished into the abyss. And Sol's terrified screams echoed through the darkness, a desperate cry as he continued his uncontrolled descent, surrounded by a faint, pulsing red aura. Alone, hooded figure stands amidst a desolate, blood-splattered landscape, clutching a glowing staff. Suddenly, a guttural shriek echoes through the air, as a monstrous, skeletal arm lunges forward from the darkness. Nearby, a young woman with red hair recoils in terror, barely able to stammer out her fear. She looks up at Kim Soo-hyun, cloaked and stained with red, wondering if the victims were from the same place they had just left, noting his stance like an archer. Elsewhere, and Hyun observes the blood-soaked ground, declaring that there are no other escape routes, while dark-haired male wonders if the trapped figures are still fighting or fleeing, and in Sol grimly concludes they are simply trapped. Kim Soo-hyun, still cloaked in red, offers a harsh assessment, suggesting the victims were either foolish or blinded by greed, prompting in Sol to hesitantly begin a question. He turns to the red-haired woman, his voice laced with a cold reminder, asking if she remembers their initial excitement to enter this place, now replaced by fear, to which she can only manage a soft, but. Kim Soo-hyun then states the grim truth, that this is not a pleasant place, a fact they should all understand by now, for in this world, people are nowhere once they leave the city, not just dungeons. Amidst the blood-stained dungeon floor, the dark-haired man questions their resolve, asking if they will head back after struggling so hard to find a dungeon, only to want to return to where they started, while a red-haired woman kneels, admitting her fear. She looks up, a question hanging in the air, as the dark-haired man presses her, asking if she is just going to stay there, reminding her that this place was spooking her out earlier. Kim Soo-hyun cuts in, his voice firm, urging them to decide if they are moving forward, his attention already drawn to two distant figures. The group moves through a grand, arched hallway, and Kim Soo-hyun finds the situation strange. They discover gruesome traces of a past monster attack, deep claw gouges and dark, dried blood, but no bodies remain, suggesting a complete disappearance. Suddenly, Kim Soo-hyun halts, his senses picking up a human voice, and he urges the others to hurry. A blurry figure, seemingly in distress, utters a soft, Kim Soo-hyun reacts with urgency, as the figure continues to flee, prompting an affirmative response from his companions. He finds the distressed figure, a young man, plummeting through the air before landing with a sickening thud on the dungeon floor. A faint, ethereal glow emanates from the unconscious body, leaving him to wonder what exactly he stumbled upon. Looking down at the bloodied, still form, he mutters a curse, recognizing the severity of the situation. The young man clings to life by a thread, barely able to breathe, and as the rest of the group catches up, they gasp at the sight of the critically wounded figure. A translucent window of player information hovers above the injured man, revealing his status as a player and confirming his dire condition. The group reacts with shock and confusion, questioning how a player could be in such a state and if he's still alive. He notes that the player is still breathing, part of a group, yet not using any elixirs to heal himself, prompting questions about his dungeon entry and companions. Deciding quickly, one of his companions urges Soo-hyun to take a potion and administer it, believing they should help the injured man. The group agrees, seeing an opportunity to gain information about the dungeon, and Soo-hyun prepares to force the elixir into the unconscious player's mouth, urging him to open up. The injured player stirs, a pained groan escaping his lips as he struggles to move, his mind still clouded by the trauma he endured. Even in his delirium, a desperate plea for escape forms on his lips, a stark warning that he had fallen into a trap and suffered betrayal from within. His bloodied hand reaches out, a silent testament to the treachery he faced, the single word betrayal echoing his agony. He cries out for his friends, for help, his voice strained with pain and desperation, the elixir seemingly bringing him back to a state of tortured consciousness. His body convulses slightly, the echoes of his ordeal still gripping him. Another weak gesture from his hand underscores his fragmented warnings, each movement a struggle against his injuries. He repeats the words trap, escape, friends, and betrayal, kidnap, as In-Sol, observing the scene, wonders aloud if he was kidnapped by vagrants. Kim Soo-hyun dismisses the idea, stating that if it were a simple trap, the player would have used that specific word. Instead, he theorizes that the dungeon master is responsible for the player's plight, a revelation that causes In-Sol to question the very concept. As the group begins to bicker over the dungeon master's potential involvement, with the dark-haired male expressing doubt and the red-haired female defending the possibility, Soo-hyun sharply commands them to stop fighting, his gaze firm. He considers the injured player's fragmented words, piecing together the grim reality that they must have entered a dungeon without any prior knowledge or preparation. The player's mention of betrayal and a trap confirms his suspicion that this individual was abandoned by their own teammates or friends. He knows it's nearly impossible to survive such a dungeon without a guide or a high-ranking player, and given that the archer's body was found near the entrance, it seems he tried to escape alone. The others who betrayed him were likely in the same dire straits, or perhaps they were kidnapped by the dungeon master themselves. A heavy sigh escapes him as he considers the implications, wondering what kind of betrayal could turn people into live lab rats. His companion questions the possibility, but the dark-haired man reminds Yu-young that anything can happen within a dungeon. Suddenly, a name clicks into place in his mind, the Dungeon of Vivian and the Dungeon Master, an alchemist. A shiver runs through Kim Soo-hyun as he admits his fear, wondering if he's truly expected to remain in a place that has been unsettling him so deeply. While his companion, the red-haired woman, questions the two distant, grotesque figures who seem to be enjoying their monstrous existence. Deep within a cavern, a massive, golden, duck-like creature lets out a surprised squawk, seemingly acknowledging an unseen helper named Sorai. Back with the group, Kim Soo-hyun unleashes a powerful, glowing attack, striking a gray-skinned monster with a fierce roar as it recoils from the impact. The creature's clawed hand reaches out from the darkness, its glowing red eyes hinting at its malevolent presence. He then boasts about his own gains, playfully suggesting that On-hyun's higher rank is simply due to his preference for a spear. The red-haired woman, standing near a treasure chest with On-hyun and another monster lurking nearby, expresses her frustration, wondering what they're even doing there. Kim Soo-hyun, surrounded by his companions, acknowledges their shared predicament, admitting that they shouldn't have stayed and that he had a bad feeling about the place from the start. Still feeling the weight of the dangerous environment, he admits to being scared, prompting a sharp question from Lee Yu-young. She presses him, reminding him that he had previously expressed how unsettling the place was, while the others stand nearby, wondering about the pair's discussion. Lee Yu-young continues to challenge him, recalling his earlier sentiment that they shouldn't stay and his bad feeling about the situation. He looks at her with a hint of exasperation, accusing Lee Yu-young of always doubting him, but she simply dismisses his concerns, telling him to stay put and observe. Suddenly, she calls out to In-hyun with a playful tone, then turns to Kim Soo-hyun, asking if he's gone mad and if he feels like vomiting. Lee Yu-young laughs, clarifying that she merely wanted to check something, leaving him utterly confused by her sudden change in demeanor. Later, Lee Yu-young turns her attention to In-Sol, recalling a past ceremony where she mentioned he had a particular knack for things, to which he readily agrees. She then asks if he truly meant it, and In-Sol confidently affirms that he is 100% sure of his abilities. Despite his confident words, Lee Yu-young points out his visible fear, teasing him about his shaking, which he vehemently denies, leading to a playful argument about his honesty. As the red-haired woman questions the group's intentions, Kim Soo-hyun admits his fear, his voice barely a whisper. From a short distance away, the dark-haired man challenges him, asking if he truly intends to remain in this perilous place, reminding him of his earlier apprehension. The red-haired woman then turns her attention to In-Sol, teasing him about his knack for things and his visible nervousness, despite his claims of confidence. Kim Soo-hyun, still troubled, reiterates his earlier warning that they shouldn't stay here, emphasizing his persistent bad feeling. The red-haired woman, however, remains unfazed, her expression calm as she listens. In-Sol, meanwhile, is visibly shaking, his eyes wide with terror, a stark contrast to his earlier bravado. The red-haired woman, observing his distress, remarks on his fear, noting that he seems to be doing all the work. Her thoughts drift to his unique ability, a third eye that allows him to perceive things far more clearly than others, hinting at the true source of his terror. With a decisive tone, she declares they should move, just as a massive, shadowy spider-like monster looms into view, its presence confirming the group's worst fears. The monstrous spider-like creature looms in the darkness, its glowing blue eyes piercing the gloom. Unable to detect any other life forms, Kim Soo-hyun wonders how deep they could possibly be, a growing sense of unease settling over him. Yet, In-Sol's unique perception cuts through the illusion, revealing not one, but two enchanted statues lurking in the shadows, a realization that chills him to the bone. Suddenly, a desperate cry echoes through the cavern, a frantic voice screaming, "Help!" The injured player, trapped and vulnerable, screams for assistance, their pleas growing more frantic with each passing moment. Hearing the distant voice, Hanbile immediately recognizes the sound of someone in distress, believing the person must have fallen into a trap, and urges In-hyun to rush to their aid. But before anyone can move, Kim Soo-hyun's hand tightens around his sword hilt, a firm no cutting through the air. He charges forward alone, his blade a blur as he carves a path through unseen enemies, blood splattering across the cavern walls. Then, a sudden, sharp intake of breath, "Bro," escapes his lips, his eyes wide with shock. As Kim Soo-hyun turns, a voice filled with disbelief cries out, asking why he would do such a thing. As he unleashes a powerful, red-tinged sword strike. A wave of crimson energy erupts from his hand, tearing through the air. The blast intensifies, its raw power echoing with a deafening roar. He glances downward, a faint sound catching his attention amidst the chaos. The monstrous form of a Ramek, a mutant creature diverged from doppelgangers, looms in the shadows. His companions discuss the creature, noting that while it can't perfectly mimic a doppelganger's appearance, its growl is a perfect imitation. Experienced players understand this distinction, but newcomers should still approach such creatures with extreme caution. Hanbyle cautions her companions, reminding them that many players have been overwhelmed by their own emotions in these dangerous environments, and she suspects this particular location might be a Ramek's lair. Meanwhile, Kim Soo-hyun stands cloaked, observing the surroundings with a thoughtful gaze. As Park Dong-gul asks if her suspicion is correct, wondering how she knew about Rameks, to which Hanbyle replies that she simply came across an article, confirming that it must be the voice of a caravan player they heard earlier. And Sol then muses aloud about the Ramek's ability to mimic voices, a detail that seems to capture Soo-hyun's attention. But before they can delve deeper into the discussion, a sudden, unseen force violently strikes Hanbyle, sending her flying through the air. She lands hard on the ground, looking up in shock as Soo-hyun turns to face the unseen threat, his expression hardening. Without hesitation, he unleashes a powerful burst of crimson energy, the glowing aura erupting from his hand and striking out at the invisible assailant. Both Soo-hyun and the still recovering Hanbyle then fix their gazes on the point of impact, anticipating what will emerge from the dust. And Hyun, his expression stern, confronts Kim Soo-hyun, demanding to know what he had just done. Meanwhile, and Sol, looking sheepish, tries to explain himself to Soo-hyun, claiming he thought the smart-talking Ramek was actually a monster and that his actions were just a joke. Soo-hyun's gaze remains unwavering, his silent question hanging heavy in the air, a joke. He reminds Sol that they would never attack an ally in a ranking dungeon, then asks if he should attack him as a joke too, his tone laced with menace. A stark reminder flashes through their minds, a glowing blue orb depicting a world map, emphasizing that this is not a game, this is reality. The red-haired female, Young, steps in, asking Sol how many times she has to tell him to stay alert, to which he meekly apologizes. And Hyun then addresses Soo-hyun, granting him a pass this time because Young intervened, but warns that if he makes such a mistake again, no matter the reason, he won't be so lenient. With a collective gaze fixed on Sol, the question hangs in the air. Do you understand? And Hyun continues, explaining that a Ramek capable of mimicking voices is naturally cause for caution, and that it's a basic rule for Ramek hunters that Soo-hyun should already know. Soo-hyun acknowledges the lesson, confirming he understands. As the group prepares to delve deeper into the ominous cave, Young confesses her fear, prompting Kim Soo-hyun to question her resolve, reminding her of her earlier apprehension about the place. From behind them, and Hyun's voice cuts through the exchange, urging them to move, while Sol wonders aloud what the two are doing, delaying their progress into the dark, root-filled cavern. With the brief hesitation resolved, Kim Soo-hyun leads the way, his figure silhouetted against the faint light filtering into the cavern, its walls draped with thick, glowing green moss and gnarled roots. As they press onward, he reflects on their mission, noting they'd ventured this far after hearing about a Ramek, yet found no trace of other explorers, the path growing increasingly narrow. Perhaps the treasure lies even further within, he muses, his attention then drawn to a peculiar object ahead, a strange, glowing green orb embedded in the cave floor. He approaches it cautiously, his gaze fixed on the mysterious artifact, wondering about its nature and purpose. The entire group gathers around the pulsating green light, their faces illuminated by its eerie glow as they collectively ponder the strange discovery. Driven by curiosity, Kim Soo-hyun reaches out a hand to touch the glowing orb, a sharp cry of pain escaping him the moment his fingers make contact. He recoils, clutching his hand, a grim realization dawning on him that his earlier unease about the place had been well-founded. A wave of fear washes over Young, her voice trembling as she admits her terror. He turns to her, a slight exasperation in his tone, reminding her that she was the one who found this place unsettling, while Hyun and Sol question their next move, noting her earlier bad feeling. But before they can decide, a monstrous, thorny green growth erupts from the cave floor, its tendrils reaching out with menacing speed. A sharp pang of regret hits him, realizing he should have extended his mana barrier to the ceiling as well. The thorny vines lash out, piercing his body, a guttural cry escaping his lips as he's impaled and restrained. He collapses to the ground, completely ensnared by the glowing green tendrils, his companions watching in horrified disbelief. As the system declares a player elimination and physical transformation, his eye flares with an ominous red glow, a surge of unknown power erupting from within him. A pained grunt escapes the red-haired woman as she strains, her gaze fixed upwards. Above, strange, glowing green orbs, each with a dark pupil-like center, hang suspended from thick, organic tendrils. She turns to her companion, correcting herself. No, those are not. One of the orbs pulses with a soft glow, and a moment later, a powerful, clawed green limb lashes out with a sharp impact. Both she and the hooded man look up into the vast, root-filled cavern, the air thick with an eerie, whispering sound. A closer look reveals the segmented, insect-like structure of the green limb, still emitting a soft hiss. Below them, several dark, fish-like creatures swim through the murky, green-tinged water. Her eyes widen in realization as she stares upwards. Are those all coming out from up here? As the cavern's eerie glow intensified, Kim Soo-hyun instructs his companion to focus on the creature's core, warning that its outer shell is too tough to penetrate. Without hesitation, he lunges forward, his blade a blur of green energy as it carves into the monstrous, segmented form. Observing the creature's sudden, violent transformation, his red-haired companion realizes the monster has become even stronger, its mana surging with renewed intensity. A fierce resolve hardens her expression, her thoughts burning with the injustice of the situation, convinced that these creatures have committed an unforgivable crime. With a shared purpose, both Kim Soo-hyun and his companion launch a coordinated assault, their combined power tearing into the creature as a third figure watches from a safe distance. The creature's limb recoils, severed and dripping with viscous green fluid from the impact. Though heavily damaged, the monstrous form still writhes, prompting Kim Soo-hyun to check if it's truly incapacitated. Turning to the hooded figure, Kim Soo-hyun declares the fight is over, acknowledging that the other's resistance points have increased after shielding them. The figure, Soul, responds with a quiet okay, as Kim Soo-hyun instructs her not to waste mana and to put something in her bag. And Soul looks to Kim Soo-hyun, asking if they're going to stay, expressing his fear. Meanwhile, in another part of the cavern, the red-haired female reports that someone has hung up the phone, prompting Hyun to wonder what they should do with the elf-eared figure standing between them. All three look up, their gazes fixed on a massive, eight-legged creature lurking above. Back with the protagonist, he considers the situation, asking if anyone has any ideas. The elf-eared figure, with a determined expression, declares that she cannot be abandoned. Amidst scattered bones, a thought crosses Kim Soo-hyun's mind. He isn't very good at making up white lies. With a resolute gaze, he decides they will bring her with them. The truth is, the body she inhabits is no longer human. She is closer to an egg-producing monster. Even if they were to help her cling to life, she would only continue to endure such pain and suffering. A voice echoes through the darkness, questioning the right to decide another's fate. As the group considers their next move, and Soul remains silent, while the red-haired woman expresses her fear, reminding them of the unsettling nature of their current location. Despite the apprehension, Kim Soo-hyun makes a decisive call, declaring they must bring the suffering figure down first, as the red-haired woman begins her descent into the glowing, web-filled chasm. With a confident affirmation, Kim Soo-hyun agrees to the plan, a faint, unsettling laugh escaping him as he prepares for the unknown below. The cavern itself seems to echo with a strange, almost playful energy, as if counting the approaching adventurers, 2 males and 2 females. The group, now fully assembled on the glowing webs, gazes down into the depths, their expressions a mix of caution and resolve. Suddenly, the red-haired woman, knife drawn, challenges the unseen presence, demanding to know its identity and for it to reveal itself. Below them, a small, indistinct figure finally speaks, declaring itself the dungeon master, prompting Hyun to issue a stern warning for everyone to remain vigilant. The cavern's voice confirms the declaration, its unsettling laughter echoing through the greenlit depths. A sudden, chilling voice echoes through the cavern, causing the red-haired woman to recoil in fear, her eyes wide with alarm. The voice, belonging to the dungeon master, greets them with a sinister tone, welcoming them as new prey. From the depths of the glowing green webs, the dungeon master, Vivian, reveals herself, a figure of ethereal beauty seated upon a throne of living vines. Vivian has arrived. The red-haired woman, recognizing the title, demands to know if Vivian was responsible for the fate of the lady they were searching for. Vivian calmly explains that the woman had trespassed into her dungeon, possessing a significant amount of mana that she then claimed for herself and her babies. The red-haired woman, enraged, retorts that the lady deserved her fate, and that the other players, transformed into monsters by mana poisoning, should be considered Vivian's unborn babies. Vivian reacts with a shocked gasp, demanding to know why she is being cursed, insisting her actions were purely in self-defense. Her gaze falls upon glowing green sacks, her voice filled with sorrow as she laments, accusing them of killing and eating her little babies. Vivian's voice trembles with a raw, guttural sound, her green eyes glowing with a fierce, sorrowful light as she demands to know if anyone understands the pain of a mother who has lost her children. But Kim Soo-hyun, his expression grim, cuts through her lament, reminding her that she was the one responsible for their current state, a subtle crackle of green energy beginning to emanate from the dungeon master. Her eyes flaring with renewed fury, Vivian's voice hardens into a chilling threat, promising punishment for him as well. With a sharp, piercing sound, a blinding burst of concentrated green energy erupts from her, tearing through the air. The powerful magical assault continues, met with cries of alarm and pain as it strikes its unseen target.